What's going on, YouTube? It's Nathan back with another video presentation. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's doing safe, doing well, just staying safe. Before we get into the video, there's a few things that I need to say up front. I just wanted to do a quick recap of our last video, Dental Kwame Brown. Check that out if you haven't already. If you are enjoying the content that you're seeing so far, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Also, consider hitting the subscribe button along with notification bells on. So as you see the title of this video, I do want to take the opportunity to apologize. I did say in that video that I was going to do a what's going on, Sean? What's going on? I appreciate that. I just wanted to do a quick recap. I wanted to apologize. I did say after that Kwame Brown video that I was going to do a video on the Mystics' loss Friday night to the Indiana Fever. And no, I'm sorry, not Friday, Sunday night. And also the Wizards loss Sunday against the 76ers. So I did not get an opportunity to see the Washington Capitals because, again, with watching the Orioles, Wizards, and Mystics, it's kind of been hard to watch the Capitals, but disappointing to see them lose in 5 to the Bruins. Overall, kind of was a little not disappointing, but this was the first season since the 2014-2015 season that the Capitals did not win their division. I still think the Capitals are an elite team. I still think they can compete. I'm starting to really think maybe letting Barry Trotz walk I think really was not a smart decision. But you should do a show just covering DC sports. I'm trying to keep it balanced as best I can with DC and Baltimore, as best I can, trying to. I didn't get a chance to that, but I think it was a great season overall. I do expect Alex Ovechkin to be back. I know he said he's going to be a free agent, and a couple other guys. So, let's keep our heads up. At the Capitals will be back and ready to go for next year. The Baltimore Orioles. They lost again tonight to the Twins, 7-4. Disappointing. They've now lost 8 in a row. And last night, you have a 3-0 lead in the 8th inning. The bullpen is terrible. These guys cannot really seem to get it together. Dean Kramer tonight had a rough start. I understand it. And I believe who else? Keegan Allen. The offense is doing its job as best as it can. DJ Stewart hit the home run last night. But then they bring in Cesar Valdez, who I do not like. He's not, to me, a proven Baltimore is that makes sense. That's fair. I'm not a fan of Cesar Valdez. I don't think he's our closer. Brendan Hyde really has to make the necessary changes because this team is really starting to look like the Orioles of last year and the year before. As of now, they're 17-31. I think people have them right where they wanted them. Just disappointed because this team, ever since that no hitter, it's just gone downhill. They play the Twins again tomorrow. Then after that, we got a 4-game series against Chicago. I'm thinking we're going to only get 1 game out of that. Then back home against the Twins and the Indians and the Mets, and then go on the road against Tampa. So 8 in a row. We really got to work out the bullpen situation. I think Ryan Mountcastle got hurt. I believe he did get hurt in tonight's game. I think it was like a bruised arm or hand or something like that. I can't remember. So, unfortunately, it happens in baseball. We go through these streaks, but the Orioles have got to get together. Brendan Hyde and Michael Elias, I know the job that they've done. They've gotten this team. They're building this team for the future, and that's why I was watching the news the other day, and they were like, could John Means and Trey Mancini be tradable pieces? And I'm like, why? I know to get more young guys, but to me, John Means is the guy you want to build around, and Trey Mancini is a guy who brings veteran leadership. I can see if you have like an Adam Jones, then that's different. Maybe a Nick Markakis, that's different. But who are you going to show? Who are you going to show face for with John Means and Trey Mancini? You got to think about things like that. Let's get into the Mystics. I saw that game. I tried to get. I caught the second half of it. Disappointing. The Indiana Fever. Congratulations to Tamika Catchings going in the Hall of Fame. Got her banner raised. But we should not have lost to this team Sunday night. We should just not have. The final score was 77-89. Indiana is in a rebuilding mode, rebuilding phase. Again, I taking into account, it's still early in the season, but these are must wins. These are must win games. And again, I'm looking at the fact Della Dawn's not there. She's still recovering from back surgery. Maisha Heinz Allen came back, but she had a rough start. 14 minutes, 0-6 from the field, 0-2 from 3. Emma Meeseman's not there. The lineup was interesting. And he had Leilani Mitchell, Natasha Cloud, Erica McCall, Era Atkins, and Tina Charles. That was the starting 5. So I see what he's doing with the lineup. He's trying to really see what works. Another game where Stella Johnson and Kiara Leslie didn't play. I didn't get that. That's the second game they haven't played in a row. But let's look at the stats here. I'm looking, and Tina Charles was your best player. Tina Charles was my best player. She had 31. She gave me 31 points and 9 rebounds. The second score behind her was Errol Atkins and then Erica McCall. I keep putting this emphasis on shooting. I think Tina Charles I think we have to really kind of look at her a little bit more. But she took 22 shots from the field and made 10. That's 45.5% from the field, according to the stats here at WNBA.com. And I wouldn't say that's ball hogging, but we really have to, we got to get help. She has to help the others create a shot. What I mean by that, and Charles Barkley made this point, she has to help get a shot for Leilani Mitchell, help create a shot for Stella Johnson. She has to help create a shot for Sydney Wise. She has to create shots for others because, for example, Leilani Mitchell, right here, 1 of 5 from 1 of 5. She only made one. She was 1 of 5 from the field and 1 of 3 from 3. So maybe she needs someone to help create her own shot. Teresa Pliance, she was starting the first 2 games and she only played 5. Like I said, I don't expect this roster to be consistent. I do expect once Emma comes back, I'm still convinced that he's going to make a trade and he's going to cut somebody. I just don't think the chemistry is just not there for this game. But when you have 4 starters for Indiana, Kelsey Mitchell was the leading scorer with 18, and then Tiara McGowan, Jessica Breland with 17, and then Danielle Robinson, 13. That's a recipe for disaster. And on top of that, as a collective unit, we took 70 shots and only made 27. That's 38% from the field. That's not going to get it done. And again, like I said, I really think that overall the shooting needs to get better. And you can see slight improvements, but I think this, again, I'm emphasizing creating shots for one another. They did win tonight, so I want to definitely go over that game. Um, they played better. Um, Still, I have concerns regarding the amount of shots that they're giving Tina. Um, Sometimes I think she took 7 threes and only made 2, and then on top of that, she took 23 shots from the field and made 13, but she still came out with 30. Natasha Cloud, I mean, I'm still getting into the relative thing, and it takes a minute for everyone to get the juices flowing, and but 25% from the field and 33% from three, like we're gonna have to really start evaluating, you know. I mean, evaluate. We got to see. Okay, maybe let's say she comes off the bench for a few games. Maybe let's say we move her to the 2 or the 3, something like that. Um, Maisha Heinz did play a little bit better today. She took 15 shots. She made 7 of them. So was that 46% from the field. The threes is what kind of kills me. They took 28 threes. So I mean, they're gonna let those. They're gonna let it pop. They're gonna let it fly from downtown, and I get it. Um, Indiana. I mean, like I said, Indiana is a rebuilding team, and I'm just trying to figure out how we lost Sunday to this team. I mean, I like Tierra McGowan, but Tina Charles should have. I mean, well, Tina Charles did have her as barbecue chicken. Um, Personally, I think it's all about matchups. I would not have started Tierra McGowan tonight. I think she's more for a defensive minded, but she's not athletic. I saw them play, who was the Connecticut Sun, and it was on the fast break. Brianna Jones from Maryland outran her. There's no way in hell I'm letting my starting center get outran like that. That's just not happening. Um, Kyrese Gondrezic, um, I don't know. I kind of need to see more from. I need to evaluate her some more. I just I don't know. We got to give her some more time. Betty Hattar, she needs to be starting. In my personal opinion, I think she needs to be starting for Indiana. Um, but that's neither here nor there. So the Mystics, big win. I think was a much definite win. But like I said, I'm not sold on this roster. Not to me, it's not set. I definitely see the Mystic Coach T making a trade. I think he needs somebody until Deladon comes back. He needs somebody down low. That's why I didn't understand why Lele Coates from South Carolina is on the squad, because I think she did. I think she played well in the bubble, or maybe a Kalani Brown, because I just don't think she fits the Atlanta Dream system. She played again tonight, and she only played 5 minutes in 4 games. That's ridiculous. I feel like she's proven to me that she could be a starter. I know last year she had with COVID, and she kind of wasn't really in basketball shape. I understand it, but I think we need to give Tina Charles somebody down low to help, particularly on the defensive side. And more importantly, I think once everybody's at their natural positions, everybody feels better. So until then, I think, like I said, I do see a roster cut or a trade sometime soon for the Mystics. So the Mystics, they move on to, let me see who they play. I can't think of the top of my head who they play. I gotta look. Hold on. I want to say it's Minnesota, but I could be wrong. They play Connecticut, so I'll definitely be tuning in that game because that's on Facebook. So that's kind of weird. And then the games have been kind of overlapping. So like I had to switch between the Mystic game and the Wizard game. I don't understand why the scheduling's like that, but that's neither here nor there. That should be a good game, so I'm gonna try to watch that. So we're gonna get into the Wizards. I did not give them a congratulations for making the playoffs. I think they'll win 17 games to get into the position that they are now. I think that shows the leadership of Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, because we did write this team off. They were disappointing in the beginning. They had COVID. Thomas Bryant was out for the season. But to really see where this team has gone from then and now is really good. Couple things that I took away from game one. The Wizards have to not lean on the bench so much. They leaned on them in the third quarter. I really think with Beal and Westbrook struggling in the first half, you had to rely on the bench. Ish Smith, who is, I think, a tremendous energy. I do expect him to be back on the roster next season. I think the doubling. See, here's the thing. With Tobias Harris went off. Let me see. Let me look at the box score. He went with 37. Joel Embiid went in the foul trouble early. And Tobias Harris kind of said, okay, well, I got this. And because if you remember, Tobias Harris and Doc Rivers, when Tobias Harris was in Los Angeles, he was coached by Doc Rivers. So he carried the team essentially. The Wizards don't really have that. If Beal and Russell struggle or get into foul trouble, we don't have a Tobias Harris. We don't have a Paul George. We don't have that. And I'm not saying that we need that, but I'm saying the Wizards need a guy that is going to pick up the slack or help Beal and Westbrook out in certain situations. The defense. They're struggling to keep Philadelphia off the foul line. I think Philadelphia, if I'm not mistaken, I can't think of how many, like 33. I want to say it was like 30, 33, 32 free throw shots. Like that can't happen if you're Scott Brooks. Scott Brooks, who once again was this defensive-minded coach. I mean, all season the defense was terrible. The defense did improve, when they got Hutchinson and Gafford. But that shouldn't have happened. I think we only had 15 free throw shots. So the biggest things for me that I think Washington did its job to really keep the game close. They lost by 7, but I think the biggest thing was double Ben Simmons. I'm gonna make Ben Simmons shoot the ball. The rotation's got to be faster. I think we need to get Joel Embiid in foul trouble early. And I think and Westbrook and Beal have to go off early. I think if early struggles and not consistent on shooting, the Wizards are going to lose. Are going to lose this series. They're going to go home, I say, in 5. So I expect better in Game 2 tomorrow night from Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. I do, and it's Scott Brooks. It is okay. I don't know what it is. It's okay to make adjustments in the starting lineup. I'm looking at the box score here. You got Chandler Hutton, you got Garrison Matthews, Isaac Bonga, Cassius Winston that didn't play. You had 5 guys that didn't play. I'm looking at, maybe Alex Lynn could come off the bench. Maybe if you had Gafford in there, because Gafford, I think, brings great energy. He played a good game. Maybe Robin Lopez, switch the lineup. I just don't really see, Bertans. I just don't see Bertans as that guy. He's just really, to me, so far in his first year of his contract, just been just so really inconsistent. And that's going to be another key. That's going to be needed from tomorrow night, the shooting. So I'm looking at a couple things. Washington's front court against Joel Embiid, Westbrook and Beal versus Ben Simmons. And then on top of that, they have to really, really get off early. If they can't get off early, I'm telling you, Philadelphia, you're going to see the same result like Sunday. Um, I will say the biggest takeaway I will say was Bradley Beal had 33 points. So I mean, regardless, he was more aggressive. He didn't shy away from really going taking it to the lane or anything like that. Um, that was a turnover with Russell Westbrook when he did step out of bounds. Um, but he needs to. But Scott Brooks really has to make some adjustments to the starting lineup because I'm looking at Philadelphia like Mike Scott, Anthony Tolliver, Paul Reed, Isaiah Joe. I don't know who those two guys are. But I know who Mike Scott and Anthony Tolliver are. But I mean Ben Simmons. I mean just Dwight Howard. I mean Washington doesn't really have length like that. And again, Scott Brooks is not using the rotation well. So I think the biggest thing they're going to, and again, I understand that Thomas Bryant's not there. I get it. But Washington really needs to really, I think they need another wing player to go alongside Beal. I feel like this. I think they could trade Westbrook to get draft capital. I think Westbrook just has value. I think Westbrook's a great player. Um, and I definitely do not see Scott Brooks coming back next year. I just don't. Um, I think Scott Brooks is a great coach, but the Wizards have not gotten better since he came in there. Um, and this year really was kind of just icing on the cake. Um, I do have ideas of who the potential head coach could be. I'd like to see Sam Cassell there. Um, if it happens, Portland fires him, Terry Stotts, but I doubt it. Maybe Mike Budenholzer if Milwaukee doesn't get past the Eastern Conference Finals. We'll see. Um, there's a few coaches. There's a couple more I can't think off the top of my head. Um, but Scott Brooks, going forward, is just not the guy for this team, um, personally. So, biggest thing is I think the Wizards just got to come up and be more and just be aggressive. If they can do that, I think the Wizards will be okay. I do see the Wizards winning. I do see this going to. I do see the Wizards taking it to at least 6 games. I just don't think Washington's just not built enough against Philadelphia. And unfortunately, we lost all 3 matchups to Philadelphia during the regular season. So I just think that the matchups are just a little unfair, but that's neither here nor there. But I think the biggest keys for tomorrow is the front court with Joel Embiid. Bertans has to step his game up. I don't care what anybody says. And then on top of that, I think the defense has to be better. I still say double him, Ben Simmons, make him shoot the ball. Joel Embiid, we can double him here and there, but my focus is on Ben Simmons, plain and simple. So tomorrow I do have the Wizards. I predict the Wizards will win. I'm going to think on the lines of scores of 110-89 Wizards. The Mystics, I do see them being the Connecticut Sun. That's going to be a good game. That's going to be a good game. I wish to watch the Capitals, nothing but the best in the offseason. The Nationals, I haven't gotten a chance to watch them at all this season. My Orioles, I really do hope they pull it together. Like I said, we play the Twins tomorrow afternoon. It's just been it's been a rough day. It was just a rough weekend for Maryland sports pro. But But yeah, that's my recap of the Mystics, Orioles, Wizards, and Capitals. The Ravens mini camp, the OTAs have started. Julio Jones supposedly, once out of Atlanta. Um, Destinations I see Julio Jones most likely picking. New England's one. Green Bay, with Aaron Rodgers and that drama, we'll see. Maybe Tennessee. I'm going to put Baltimore on that list. I think Baltimore, if there's a couple things, there's a couple scenarios they can do with that. Um, but something told me that's why again when I did that video, the NFL draft reaction, that's why I was surprised that they didn't just say, okay, we're done. We're just going to start all over again. I had them picking Mac Jones actually just to start over again, but they got you guys supposedly in the hunt. Yeah, they do. Like I said, I definitely do have an idea of who they could possibly trade for. Their draft capital. They could probably sacrifice that. They could possibly get a couple draft picks, maybe Miles Boykin, because I just don't see Miles Boykin on this team. Even if they convert him to tight end, defensively, randomly, I'm just going to say Jalen Ferguson. He could be a potential draft to go traded with a couple draft picks. So I think it really, if Eric DeCosta wants to sacrifice his draft capital, so be it. But I think Eric DeCosta, just my personal opinion, I think he's sold on what he has. But it would not hurt to just take a risk, take a chance, and see what's out there. So, Aaron Rodgers, I definitely do believe the last few days with Aaron Rodgers has begun. My view on him is starting to change a little bit. I think at first I was saying, okay, you know what? Enough's enough, Green Bay. Pay the man, get him out there, X, Y, and Z. But now his actions are starting to look very Brett Favre like. He could say it was never about Jordan Love, but that's BS. He wants the GM fired. He wants assurance that he's the guy for the next 3-4 years. I personally think, like I said, it's starting to be very Brett Favre like. And if you're Green Bay, you got to put your foot down. This is not about one player. This is about you as a team going forward. Like I said, I think personally the Packers are going to be all right going forward. The same thing with Brett Favre couldn't make up his mind about 1 year he wanted to retire, the next he didn't. The team was going to be in good hands with Aaron Rodgers, but ego. The power of egos is real. I've told people that egos are real with these guys. So, and again, if this was any other quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. See, we gotta hold guys like Aaron Rodgers a little bit more kind of. It's like, yo, guy, like, listen, what do you want? Do you want to stay in Green Bay or do you want to go? Plain and simple. Let's stop beating around the bush. Let's stop, pacifying Aaron Rodgers. Let's call it what it is. Do you want to stay in Green Bay? Do you want to be out? Plain and simple. And then leave it at that with Aaron Rodgers. It was 1 year today. George Floyd was unfortunately taken, like his life was taken away by Derek Chauvin, his knee on his neck. Again, I think the videos I have made, I think the video I made, I said it was like in the Ma'Khia Bryant video where LeBron James came out and didn't have all the facts. I told y'all, when the verdict came out, I was like, we can celebrate the moment, but I think the real change comes from when we politically organize and we hold our senators, DAs, district congressmen, circuit court judges, etc., accountable. And we let these guys, we let them know, hey, listen, you're not doing your job. And be prepared in the next election cycle, that seat taken by somebody else. I mean, again, we can all march in the streets, we can all, all that. But the real change, until we make the real change by politically organizing and getting people seats very hot, we got to start politically organizing. I don't really see what's hard about that. Plain and simple. Because I think it was his sister, Eric Garner's mother, and the guy that got killed by the cop, and I can't think of his name. His name escapes me. The one that was shot in his apartment. Oh shit, I can't think of his name. It was his sister. It was his sister, and they were all like, "No, we're still waiting on them to pass, to get some type of reform." If we want change, we have to be the ones that make that change. If we have a problem with those in office or politicians, we need to educate ourselves. Absolutely. Comment of the evening. Thank you, Sean Spencer. This is why I got to get you on here more often and talk about these things. And unfortunately, that's the thing. We have to educate ourselves, but more importantly, we have to organize and we have to hold these guys accountable. Just because they're a name, we got to really start looking at it like this. What have they done for you lately? Plain and simple. Send the link of the link of the interview with Eric Garner's mother, George Floyd's sister, and the other guys. I cannot think of his name. The one that was shot in his apartment by that cop, Amber Gaillard, I think that was his name. The cop that shot him. You want that link? Is that what you're asking? Actually, let me see if I can send it. Hold on. Let me find it. So that's what we really have to start doing. And if you look back at that video I did with the WNBA, oh no, to join the show. Oh, okay, hold on. We got a guest, people, ladies and gentlemen. The great Sean Spencer wants to join. Let me get him on the show. Hold on. Hold on, people. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Because me and Sean, I gotta give a shout out to Cameron Crump. This guy, Sean he's actually gotten me to do more on my YouTube channel than before. He's giving me the confidence to make videos and just speak what's on my mind, because I think again, this channel is all about just starting a conversation. Sean, I'll get you the link. Oh yeah, I got you, Sean. Hang on 1 second. Let's get him on the show. I'll send you the link so you can join. Yes, I know. I'm working on that. My trying to be more clear and precise when I speak. So thank you for reminding me on that. I'm still learning. So Sean Spencer is actually going to join me in a minute. Hoping to get him on here. Let's see, get him on here.
Yo.
Sean Spencer, what's going on, sir?
What's up, brother? How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you for joining me, man. How you feeling, man?
I'm all right. I'm all right, man. I'm honest, man. I didn't even think that. I missed the other show that you did the other night, but then I got a notification all of a sudden, and then I thought I was doing a show because I saw the countdown, and I was like, wait, am I live right now? So I was like, oh, it's Nathan. All right, bet. What's good? I'm with that.
I appreciate that. So, I mean, basically all I did was I just covered the sports tonight. Mystics won and got a W. The Wizards lost Sunday, but they play tomorrow night against the game 2 against Philadelphia. The Orioles lost again tonight and last night to the Minnesota Twins. And the Capitals got eliminated by the Bruins in 5. So it's kind of been, I don't want to say it's a dark day, but it's kind of a sad day, it's particularly for for Capital fans, Oriole fans, Wizard fans too, because particularly for the Wizards, as this season has been a struggle. The fans have really stuck by through thick and thin,
right?
And with the Mystics, I still think the Mystics are still early in the season, and they're missing key players. They just got one back Sunday night in Maisha Heinz Allen. But Emma Mieseman is still overseas, but she won't be back until after the Olympics. And then Deladon's still recovering from back surgery. So as far as the offseason for football, the Ravens and the Redskins, they started voluntary OTAs.
Right.
So everyone's really just out there really getting warmed up, just seeing how everyone is, the chemistry-wise. But other than that, I mean, the biggest thing was just Julio Jones came out and said that he didn't want to be he wants out of Atlanta. So how do you feel about that?
Well, and I mean, and like I mentioned in the comments, you guys are one of the people that they had, or one of the teams that they had potentially Julio, interested in going to. And I mean, we've been talking about that since you and I started talking in February. Needing receivers. We talked about y'all getting Rashad Bateman, which is a great pick, somebody to help Lamar out. Julio, I mean, would be an absolute game changer. You go from technically, by what Snead and some of those guys say, and not having number one receiver, to now having two
number one receivers.
Exactly.
But see, my only thing is then you would have Julio, Sammy Watkins, Hollywood Brown, Bateman, Mark Andrews, Nick Boyle. I don't really see how if you're Greg Roman, I don't see how you can balance those guys all together.
You need depth, though.
You need depth.
Need depth because Julio has had injury issues.
Yes.
I'm not. You talked about Boykin and Hollywood Brown all year, but I'm not sold on them. I like their potential. They can have big games, but I'm not sold on them.
For sure, I can understand that. I think also too. Let's give Miles Boykin for sure. I'm just not sold on. Because that's another wide receiver that's 6'3" and above that we've drafted. Because we got a few years ago, if you remember, Rashard Perriman, and he didn't pan out. These guys supposed to have these great hands. I know Ray was saying with Miles Boykin, his catching was very shaky, but maybe, like I said, T. Martin from Tennessee could help Miles Boykin, could even benefit Hollywood Brown. I've seen Hollywood Brown's all-season training, but I really think, because he's so small, he doesn't like physical contact. That's when we did the who we had getting drafted. That's why I wasn't really sold on Devontae Smith. Really going to had him going to Carolina. I didn't have him going to Green Bay.
Yeah.
Or Detroit. That's what it was, not Green Bay. So.
And that's the thing, because in my opinion, and again, this is my humble opinion. I just feel like, and I get into this with some of the guys on Washington Football Weekly Wednesday night 8:00. Check it out. I get into this with some of those guys. They always tell me the specs. They give me the 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", this and this and that. But then I got to bring back a guy that actually was on your team 4 or 5 years ago, and he's now in the broadcast booth. Steve Smith.
Yep.
Steve Smith was, 5'9",
5'9", 5'10".
My height. And, I'd put him above any two outside of maybe Mark Andrews, and we don't know what Rashard Bateman's going to do. But I mean, he could still start now for you guys, is what I'm saying. So you can't measure it by the specs, we can, but we've seen how many times Mel Kiper and all those guys have been wrong because they're like, oh, this guy he's got everything you're looking for. But it's that heart. It's that absolute heart that you need to have, and I think that's why Rashad Bateman's going to do good. But I think you need to get a guy. You have a Bateman who's a rookie. You need to get a guy, a seasoned guy.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like we did with Anquan Bolden with Joe Flacco, for sure.
Right.
But see, the thing is, we still had Derek Mason. Mm-hmm. I think the year we got Anquan Bolden,
and then veteran.
Mm-hmm. That's what Baltimore needs. But my only thing is, I don't know if Eric DeCosta would be willing to sacrifice draft capital for Julio Jones. That's my only concern. As far as anybody else, I know Eric DeCosta would make a trade like that in a heartbeat. I mean, Ozzie Newsome would do it, in my personal opinion. I just don't know if Eric DeCosta would do it even if he is sold on this squad personally. I think I still think Baltimore needs to find a pass rusher. Everyone kept saying Justin Houston or Melvin Ingram, which I think that's the only really clear lacking thing Baltimore needs, honestly, is a pass rusher. Yeah. But other than that, if Julio Jones is there, like I said, I can't see why not. I can't see why not. So, and I think that would give Lamar a lot to, one, not only work with, but again, with his mechanics, throwing the ball, I think they will improve. I think Julio will help him improve with that.
Right. Now, one of two. Now that's going to do two things. One, yes, he's going to give him that opportunity now to have a receiver he can count on, have guys that can create separation, that can go deep, that can go short, possession guys. They can have that. But on the other side of it, you have your Bucky Brooks, who I know you love. You're going to sit here and create a situation for Lamar now where it's do or die. Because like you said, you're deep. That offense, the last couple years, that offense is going to get you to the playoffs. Lamar is going to get you to the playoffs. He's going to get you at least. Well, at least now, because I think it's you and the Browns, at least second, if not winning that division. Because Cincinnati's got a couple years, I think. And like you've always mentioned, Pittsburgh is on the decline. They're going to win a couple games this year. I still think they're going to split, but they're on the decline. So it's gonna really kind of put the onus on Lamar. So I'm saying they're going to come after him this year if you make a move like Julio. You know what I mean? But that's for any team. That's for any team that you put Julio on. They're going to say, oh, it makes them an instant contender type deal. So I like that, but
I like it too. My only thing is, and you made a very great point about now the pressure would be on Lamar. I think Lamar, and regardless too, the pressure is already on Lamar because they laid an egg, honestly, against Buffalo. But like I said, when you have Judon, that people kept saying, "Oh, Judon's this great pass rusher," but last year and the year before, the year before, he didn't show me why he deserved top money. He didn't show me. And then when you get Yannick Ngakoue for a 5th round pick, didn't prove that. It didn't prove anything. So I think there are things that Baltimore is going to have to do on the defensive side of the ball, because again, the others have to step it up. Not just when it comes down, because the others matter, just like in basketball. Lamar can. We all know he's going to take the team as far as he can, but at the end of the day, can he rely when it's clutch time? Now, Sammy Watkins. Now, Hollywood Brown, Miles Boykins. X, Y, and Z. If it's the other way around, then we could go, hey Lamar,
gotta get the other.
Then that's when it makes sense for like a guy like Bucky Brooks to come out and say, okay, let's graduate from him. But if Lamar is playing at a level, like again, at 3 for 325 yards on the divisional game against Tennessee, but the others failed to step up, then we can give Lamar a small pass. But it's if collectively we had a bad game offensively, which we did against Buffalo, then that's when we got to reevaluate some things. Like I said, I think this year, like you said, we both said it, it's Baltimore and Cleveland. And I really honestly, truthfully think too with Baker Mayfield, once he gets, I like to see what he and Odell Beckham Jr. are going to look like. But I think also too, people got their eyes on Baker. I think just because you got to the AFC Championship game against Cleveland, people are still going to look at you like, okay, are you that guy to be the franchise quarterback for this team?
Well, and honestly, I don't think they ever took their eyes off Baker. And the reason why I'm gonna tell you is because of where he's at. Number one, you have Cleveland that's a perennial loser up until recently, up until the last 2 years. We're talking about 17 years since they have been in the playoffs. And then number two, who's that other man that runs that city that's from that area? He's in the LA now, but he's got a title for him. LeBron. And LeBron is making waves everywhere. You've covered it. You know, I've seen other people cover it. LeBron has been making waves everywhere. So as long as you have Jim Brown and then next LeBron James, two arguably the GOATs at their position, if not the game, in their respective fields, you have those two guys bringing a championship to an otherwise downtrodden city and area. The expectations are going to be very high on you. And Baker was a Heisman coming out. He was picked to change the whole thing up. And like you said, he has help. He's got a two-headed running back system that's arguably the best in the league. He's got O-linemen. He's got Myles Garrett. He's got how many number one or number 2 or 3 picks on that defense?
He's got
help.
What I mean? Yeah,
so
like I said, it's like, again, same thing with the Brooklyn, like, you know, in basketball with the Brooklyn Nets, it's championship or bust. You know, just can't be. And same thing with the Ravens. You know, hey, we got a great on paper offense looks great.
Yeah,
we're going on the field. That's what it looks like. Same thing with Cleveland. Same thing with New England. You know, I think Bill Belichick did a great job getting those guys in there. They even talked about trading Cam Newton to Chicago. Yeah, I read this somewhere for Andy Dalton. That was kind of like, why? Yeah. That doesn't make any sense. Maybe, I'm not sure if they just see Cam Newton as a mentor for Justin Fields. Who knows? But same thing like with Seattle. I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to look. I don't know if this could be Russ's last season with them. I think he's out the door personally because they just didn't. I don't think they addressed the needs.
Going back on, you know, and I do want to touch on this, what you said, you know, RIP to George Floyd 1 year ago today.
Yes.
With all that stuff, and I definitely want to touch on that. But going back to what you said, I mean, if you take just a general overall broad look at this off season, and you think about some of the high profile quarterbacks that are being talked about and having character issues and things like that. We know about Justin Fields in the draft. We now know about all these lawsuits and everything with the once praised and hailed Deshaun Watson. Russell Wilson, who seemingly had just a regular conversation with his agent that said, hey, if there's some teams that I can go to, yeah, I might be able to go to these 3 teams. And then all of a sudden it comes out in this whirlwind, right? And you look at how all of them are looked at, and then you look at another man that you mentioned not too long ago, who's over here being on Roseanne or the Connors, and who's doing Jeopardy and everything, Aaron Rodgers. And let's give him credit. Look, let's give him credit. He's still pound for pound probably the best quarterback, not for his resume, but just his fundamentals, you know, all the, you know, the intangibles, things of that nature. But the stuff that he's doing, and when you hear all these conversations that we've had about your boy Lamar, they're moving to go, all these things, and then stuff that you see Aaron Rodgers doing. Now, maybe some people are Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Maybe they can get away with doing that. Brett Favre, like he did all those years ago. But at the same time, it's just interesting, the narrative, when you have all these, you know what I mean? You just covered it before, how the media is kind of spinning it, how all these guys are becoming issues. All these guys are coming, and they're blown up. They're this big blown up story. And you got a lot of other guys with Aaron Rodgers' case in point, since he's in the news right now, or Tim Tebow. Don't get me started on how he got a job, and my brother CK didn't get a job. so you know what I mean. But I'm just saying it's an interesting narrative, and I feel like on the anniversary of what happened, on the anniversary of an awakening in this country, I think it's something that we need to talk about. I like that video I sent you, how they talked about the mobile quarterback.
Which is a good video. I do recommend everyone to check that out. I will leave that in the description below. That was a really good video to really see how, as the NFL has progressed, the mobile quarterback has evolutionized the game, and it was really good. And I've seen a couple of his videos. He definitely does a really really good job of really going into detail with certain things. It's a really good video.
Oh, yeah, I definitely like that. But I liked how he touched on it, and he did kind of stay away from race and made it more just sports. But I did like it because it's a very poignant video, because it makes you seriously think about how he put it with the different transition periods of the mobile quarterback. But at the same time, you look at it and you're like, I don't even necessarily think. I mean, I'm trying to think of who, like a Cordell Stewart might have actually been more of a slash in comparison to the Lamar Jacksons and these other guys.
I personally think with Cordell Stewart, Bill Cowher shook his confidence. I really did, because they couldn't make their mind up with him. One minute he's starting, the next minute he's not. Then he wanted to be a pocket passer. Then he wants to be because like you said, he to me he was a slasher coming out of Colorado, but it's just like he didn't know what to do with him.
Exactly. And that's what did it to him in his career. And we've had a lot of guys like that. You go to what's that the old Tennessee coach, what he did to Vince Young. And
Jeff Fisher.
Jeff Fisher, And I got mad love for him because of how his relationship and his connection to Steve Air McNair. I got mad love. But what he did to my man Vince Young and who's the other guy that he had? Bradford?
Sam Bradford,
Sam Bradford. I mean, you know what I mean? So it's really interesting when you go back and look at those things. But on a day like today, I thought it would be something to touch on.
Oh, for sure, it was really good, and I see why you did that, because as time has progressed, as we has progressed through time, we're seeing change over time, slowly progressing.
Right.
But I think that the times that we live in, we need to see more results.
Right.
I think when we keep beating around the bush, or when we keep, sweeping it under the rug, because let's call it what it is. This is just have things gotten better since George Floyd was killed by Derek Chauvin and the police? No. Mm-hmm. Will it get better tomorrow? You got to take it one day at a time. But the thing is, when you hold those in these positions accountable, I did a whole 3-part series on it with Ice Cube. You have to politically organize. When you don't do that, and when you don't demand these changes, this is going to be the result. And unfortunately, you do have people in these positions, whether it's in Congress or in the House, that generally they're just there for the money. They're just there because of their name.
Right. And you're absolutely right. And honestly, I think it's a situation of education. We need to, especially with our community, since the two of us young African American men, we need to educate our community, because honestly, I go back to a year ago when the first thing I thought was, no, you don't need to be marching. Don't be an idiot. Don't be out here marching and I respect. If that's the way you do it, that's the way you do it. But I'm from a man that was born in Harlem in 1939, that walked with Malcolm X and my father, the great Bob Spencer, and he was in media. He's always told me the way you change things is you do what they did to our groups, the Muslim Party, the Civil Rights Movement, the Black Panthers. You infiltrate. You get into the system. You learn what they're doing. You understand the game. That's why when they were going and marching and everything, that's great. But there's a certain demographic that's always going to look at you and be like, look at these, whatever. Look at them. They're not, why aren't you at work? Why aren't you blah, 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 blah. We don't do that. And we don't sit here and complain about those people in office. We educate ourselves on what we need to do, how we get into those positions, what it is that we want to change, and we make that move. What our parents did, if they fought, they had to fight because it was either fight or get stepped on or get killed or something like that. That's where it's different in our day. But where it's not different is the image. One thing that's kept from slavery on is the image of the black man and of the black individual. The stereotypes that go along with that, we're lazy, that we're not articulate, that we're not mentally capable. These are stereotypes that have still stayed ingrained in American society. And when people go out there and say, oh, there's no racism, it's so deeply ingrained. It's like America. It's like apple pie. It's like baseball. It's a part of America. And people get rich off it. These politicians and people in these offices that we vote for, that we think, hey, I love your agenda. I love what you got going on. But they are collecting a paycheck. Yep. Just like the athletes. You can sit here and be all ticked off because somebody took a knee, or you can be ticked off because LeBron has all these millions and millions of followers and he's, telling them this and telling them that and they're following him. Well, they have a platform to do that. Okay? And not only that, we're humans. I understand there's a lot of people that kind of, they get swayed easily. But if you can educate yourself and you can learn for yourself, do your due diligence, find out the facts, then you realize, then you can break things down into less of, it's because of this, it's because of that. It's because I haven't got up off my butt and done this. That's why I shout you out, because every time that you get on here, every time that people constantly see in your face, love it or hate it, you're putting out good information.
Right. I know with the video that you joined me on with Marilyn Mosby, I was venting, because particularly with her, what's going on in Baltimore, but her and her husband, we have to remind these politicians and those that are for the people. Hey, listen, we don't work for you, work for us. We put you in these positions because you told us in the election cycle that you were going to do this, this, and this. Here it is. We're still talking, like the bill has stalled in Congress because they can't agree on the cops not being sued so easily. Well, all we're saying is we need to hold the police community, we need to hold the police more accountable when it comes to certain situations. Like that, again, no, if you didn't personalize what happened to George Floyd, when a cop's knee on his neck, something's wrong with you.
Right. And not only just that, like people tend to just put the two of them in, George Floyd and Chauvin. But you got to remember, looking at that video, there's two other guys pressed down on him. That eliminates any opportunity for you to sit here and say he's resisting, like what they tried to say. And then you had a third guy standing off the side, complicit with what was going on here. Okay? This is human beings. And there's going to be other sides that are going to try to publicize it and say, they're saying it's racial. What? Get out of here. I'm not listening to that nonsense. This is a human being who was obviously not resisting. And even if you thought that he was resisting, does it take three guys to hold and pin down a man for almost 10 minutes with one cutting off circulation to his neck? You have him down. Like, what is it's like you said, if you can't personalize it, if you can't make it personal, and maybe it's because of the color of the skin, then all of a sudden you want to sit there and say, oh, well, he had drug issues, or, oh, well, he was doing a crime. If he would have complied, if you could already start this line of questioning in your head about it, then we're already at odds. Because you don't value what is a human thing, not a race thing. It's a human thing, regardless of what the man did. And we're talking about the two things they talk about is the fentanyl he took and that he did a counterfeit 20. Neither of those warrant him being killed. None of that warrants him being killed. Period. Okay? None of that warrants three guys pinning him down and keeping him down for almost 10 minutes. None of that does. That's a human thing. Okay? So if you want to politicize it and this and that, like they do with the school shootings, like they do with anything that happens in the news and the media, you got to be very careful because you're dehumanizing yourself. You're taking yourself out and allowing yourself to look at that other group, person, entity, whatever, as less. That's the fight that our parents passed down to us in our community.
Yeah, because our generation is definitely a part of making that change. Mm-hmm. But I'm just going to keep saying it. Politically organizing matters. When I mean politically organizing, creating an agenda where we don't have to agree on it, but I think if we all agree, if we all say this is our agenda and we're presenting it. If candidate A is not going saying, oh, I can't do it, find somebody else. Mm-hmm. Find somebody else. Regardless, listen, if you sat back and you asked those that are in Congress or the House and you did a question, well, how do you think your senator or your representative did you think they did enough for you? But COVID, let's use COVID for example, because let's just call it what it is. COVID has affected everybody in some type of way. Lost a job, had to take a pay cut, etc. And you go back and say, well, how do you think your representative, your senator, do you think they did enough for you as a voter of COVID? You have to think about that when it comes to things like social injustice issues. You look at Marilyn Mosby. When you ask a person, well, do you think Marilyn Mosby has done enough for the city of Baltimore? Do you think in Minnesota, not Minnesota, Kentucky, do you think he did enough with Breonna Taylor? You got to think about those are the things that we have to get people, like you said, educate people on. And if again, and also too, and I want to touch on LeBron James in a minute. The platform, and I back in the summer made a whole hour video. The social media influencers, to me, take away the true message that's trying to be sent because it's all about them building their brand. See, when I look at my YouTube channel, I don't have the platform that LeBron James had, or Beyonce or Jay-Z have. They're bigger. Their platform is bigger than mine. I hope that with the videos that I have made could touch somebody and go, damn, you know what? I agree with what he said. He made some great points. But when you don't use your platform properly, like for example, right? LeBron James is taking some heat because supposedly he was at some party in Beverly Hills or whatnot. It was outdoor. And the whole thing about whether he was vaccinated or not, he violated.
It was his tequila brand or something like that. He was trying to promote it.
Yeah, and supposedly he violated the rules. And Charles Barkley, I know, came out and said that the NBA ain't got the balls to suspend him. And Jason Whitlock came on and said that's black privilege, but that okay. But it's see with LeBron. He, in my personal opinion, he kind of picks and chooses when to use his platform. For example, when he came out, what happened in Ohio with Nakia Bryant, he didn't have all the facts with that.
Right.
And tweet out that picture, you're next. Hashtag accountability. See, when you use your platform, you use it wisely.
Right.
And we use it wisely. And when we're educating others, that's how we make the change. Just because, again, we we could put the next president in there. We could put whoever, because the president's just a figurehead. But when it comes down to is you have to educate yourself on the candidates, study the issues, and understand it. Organize, again, like for example, look at the Asian Americans. What's going on with them? How they have been treated. They're politically organizing for the next election cycle because they're going to say, "Hey, listen, what's happened to us here within the recent year, we're not standing for that."
No.
The same thing, as African Americans. I'm not saying we're not politically organized, but we have to start getting politically organized. We have to be better at it because. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and part of the problem with that, and with you talk about the Asian community and a lot of the other communities, the Indian community, the Asian community, the Jewish community, a lot of them are very close knit, and they're very one together. You look at the Korean community and how that was one of the issues between us and them is that they would move into the neighborhoods, they'd get all these stores and, do that type of stuff. And the issue with us, it has been as far back as we've been in this country, it's kind of been programmed in our brains that the only way that stuff's really going to work for us is if we have white involvement. An ally, somebody there helping. And it's a weird mentality that we have. And we go back to the stuff with LeBron, and it's kind of like, with LeBron, it's like, with you having this platform, you need to act at the top with this platform. Nobody's going to care what you and I say because we don't have that many people watching us. You know what I mean? But I was always taught, if people are getting on you about something, that means you're doing something right. If you got haters, that means you're doing something right. But I don't condone the you're next. You're not that kid from the project with the single mom anymore. Now you're a multi-billionaire, that gets seen every night. That last year, let's not forget last year that he helped orchestrate that day boycott of the playoffs, where all those teams.
That was actually and 144 actually did a really good job on this documentary with it because everybody was kind of confused. See, if the Milwaukee Bucks and I should have and it didn't hit me until Diana Taurasi said it, but she said if like the Mystics and the Dream weren't playing, then we were not going to we were going to play if they decided to play.
Right.
Well, the NBA, LeBron kind of came out and said, well, it was the Lakers and the Clippers. They couldn't really decide. They didn't want to play.
Right.
But there were players like George Hill, because George Hill, I think, was kind of more vocally on the Bucks. He didn't want to be there. So there was some division of who wanted to stay in the bubble, who wanted to go back to their respective cities and protest. So there was a clear division with that. But the point I'm trying to make is there was never a plan. What was the next step? Just because you canceled the games, okay, are you saying we're not done? We're done for the rest of the year. We're just canceling some games. There was never any plan. And what came out of it, the whole thing was a social injustice panel or panel team. And I'm like, could have been more with that because you could have challenged your owner, you could challenge the owners, sponsors, etc., to help get legislation across. But
right. But my point with the platform thing was at that day, and I'm not somebody that covers basketball, and I got to shout you out because you do a hell of a job covering basketball.
I appreciate that.
NBA, college, I love that. I can't wait to bring you in when we do the college basketball thing.
Oh, for sure.
But one of the things is, and like I said, I'm not as much into covering basketball, but when I look back on it, that I remember LeBron, even if he wasn't the one that started, he was the one that everybody went to for the interview. He was the one that everybody attacked. He had him being on that platform and doing it. So when you're on that, you got to act accordingly. I've always, with great, with great reward, with great success, great responsibility. I think that's the quote. I don't know exactly what the quote is, but it's like you said, and I think it also comes down to when you deal with these politicians. It's like when you deal with these athletes. We got to get off this place where we're this hero worship, where we're sitting here and valuing this person because of his job or, you know, his job, his position, his title, you know, his or hers. We got to stop putting so much value into that, because what you're doing is you're dehumanizing that person. Now you're acting like these people can't do normal human things and say some off the wall type stuff from time to time. These are human people that went through human things, that dealt with that. And we put these guys up on pedestal. I remember I was talking to somebody, a friend of mine, and he was sitting here talking about exactly what we're saying about LeBron, and LeBron, he's got all these followers and he's saying all this and saying all that. And I get it. I definitely get what he's saying. He definitely was. This guy was more on the shut up and dribble side, so it was very interesting conversation. But I said I definitely get what you're saying, that he has this kind of, that he has this power, and no one man should have that kind of power, because as you've seen, January 6th, you have one person that has that kind of power. If they want to turn it a certain way, they can definitely do that. So we got to get away from that hero worship. And I, you know, shout out something you said about Barkley, about saying I'm not a role model. You know, unfortunately, we thrust people into a certain role because we want them to be that. In the 90s, we thrusted Jordan into that role. Jordan had a huge gambling problem. Jordan had big issues. You know what I mean? Barkley was the one who came out and said, I'm not a role model. But a lot of those guys we thrust into that role. O.J. Simpson, prime example. He was thrust into that role not only in our community, even though he didn't really dig our community at times, he was thrust into the white community. But what happens when you sit there and do that? You sit here, you make these people bigger than life, and then when they do something that's human, when they mess up, that's human, all of a sudden, all that stuff goes away. So that's why what we're doing right now, this is so important. And I never want to stop this, for you, for me, for all of us, because of the fact that right now, we're doing it because of the love. Yep. We're doing it because of the passion. We're trying to get something across. I never want to get to that place where we're so high up that I can sway, you know,
someone's
a whole
opinion.
mass of people. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't want that for me, because I know I struggle daily with the things that I, you know, deal with and talk about, and the natural things, the gotcha media, the clickbait, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. It's right here on our phone. You know what I mean? So it's just, we got to be careful. We have to be careful who we're following, who we're paying attention. But like you said, going right back to what you said, we have to educate ourselves. It starts and ends with education. Because if you don't know what's going on, then you'll be swayed by anybody.
Be swayed by anybody. And again, that's why I'm saying, you know, I've said it on numerous times. We can. I like you said, this like mind thinking, we have to do away. We can be diverse in thinking. We can agree to disagree. I'm all about having conversation. You know, there's nothing wrong with challenging each other's thoughts, but this, you know, let's follow the leader. Yeah. Look where it gets you. Look where it gets you. And again, like I said, LeBron James is you know, we're using LeBron as an example because LeBron James not only has he's in that status, but he has others around him that can educate him how to use that platform. But again, also too, there are people that once they get that big, they don't know what to do with it. But I did have a question. I'm not sure if you've been paying attention. Have you paid attention to Kwame Brown?
So I wanted to watch your video. I heard a bunch of who he kind of come for and things of that nature, and how Stephen A. Smith went on. I remember that clip on ESPN when Stephen A. Smith just went off on him and everything like that. But I have not really been following it, but go ahead.
Okay, so basically, it all really started on a podcast with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, and Gilbert Arenas was a guest, and they brought him up, and that really set Kwame Brown off to the point where now he has ethered not only the mainstream, he's sports media, but he's mainstream media. He got to the point where Charlemagne the God had, you know, or the cease and desist order on him. Guys like he called out Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, Steven Jackson, Matt Barnes, obviously. Some of the things he said in his video, he's done a couple of videos. My only thing is now again, this is go back to this platform thing. Using the platform to get your message across where we all understand it, not being emotional.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Because I feel like the first few videos he did where he talked about Stephen A and all that, you know, was all emotion. And the only thing I had, my only issue with the Kwame Brown was where was the energy like 9, 10 years ago? The man hasn't played in over a decade, and we're still bringing his name up. I think the biggest thing is if he just said, well, if the question was, well, who would you like to play alongside with, or who would you thought could have been a better player? Kwame Brown, and left it at that.
Yeah.
But when you keep saying scrub, bust, that's enough. I mean,
But you know what? That's it though. But that you hit the nail on the head. Not to cut you off, but that I've always heard. Like I played high school football, and there's nothing like the roar of that crowd. But I've always heard from ex players that when you have a whole arena screaming your name, when you're top draft pick or what he's picked, and they're all giving you adulation, and then all of a sudden one day it's gone, you're craving that. I mean, we look at Aaron Rodgers, who's still at the peak, but some people could say, 1-4 in championships, can't get over the hump, this and this and that. And Aaron's doing a lot of this stuff, in my mind, in my opinion, to stay relevant, because he knows if he goes elsewhere and doesn't do what Tom Brady did, doesn't do what Peyton Manning did, and take them to a Super Bowl and do it, his legacy is going down. You know what I mean? Going down. So you have these people that are trying to stay in the limelight, get the attention. Everybody's talking about Kwame Brown now.
Well, I don't think Kwame Brown. I don't think he's doing it to get into the limelight. I think it's we've awoken a sleeping giant, and unfortunately, I made this analogy, and you can probably attest to this, where you had that one guy in high school that you were told, "Hey, you can say what's up, how you doing," but if you rub him the wrong way or even look at him the wrong way, you better be prepared for the consequences. I'm pretty sure you went to high school with a couple brothers like that. I know I did, and Kwame Brown's one of them. Unfortunately, let's just call it what it is. As a number one overall pick, he did not live up to those expectations. And people could say it was, number one overall the number one overall pick's overrated, or it's this. He turned down the $25 million 3-year extension because he couldn't get along. He couldn't get along with Eddie Jordan and Gilbert Arenas. He chose to sign with LA. That was his choice. I personally believe Michael Jordan shook his confidence. Michael Jordan, and it's documented with, everyone just had an issue with him yelling at him. That's why Rip Hamilton wanted out. That's why, guys, there's certain guys. See, there's certain guys that you can yell at. There are certain guys you can do that to. But there are some guys that I'm not saying Kwame Brown's not one of them. I don't know Kwame Brown to be that kind of person. I don't know him from a can of paint. What I'm saying is, here's a guy that Michael Jordan drafted number one overall. There's a reason why you did it. You could have traded that and got someone to play alongside you, but you didn't. But you turned around the next year and tried to trade him for Ethan Thomas. So I think that here's a guy that has now the new internet stardom. We're giving him a platform, and now look what he's doing with it. And like I said, some of the videos he's touched on, really good. But the other ones, like he just did one live stream on Roy Hibbert. Same thing, bringing something up 9-10 years ago, and that's like, bro, come on, man, let it go. But I understand the moral of what of Kwame Brown is, hey, listen, it's best if you just let the man live his life. He made his money in the NBA, and let him be. We can have conversations, again, as long as it's within those lines of how we judge a player. I'm all for it. When we get personal and different things like that, that's where I cross the line. And I'm not saying, like where Stephen A. Because we all know the type of guy Stephen A. is. Stephen A. is a very is all about his brand. He's all about Stephen A. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing I took away from Kwame Brown is he's got the media shook, and unfortunately, like I said, it's like in boxing. You take that hook or that jab, and you you frazzled. That's how it is. And the referee's like, "Can you walk to me? I'm counting 1, 2, walk to me." That's the media right now. So
yeah. And again, but I got to go back to your point. You said 7-8 years ago. You know what I mean? This is out. Why is this happening now? All this stuff. It's interesting because, like you said, I haven't heard his name for years outside of that clip from Stephen A. or people kind of dogging him and saying, "Oh, you're like Kwame Brown," or "This player is like Kwame," this and that. But I mean, at the end of the day, there was something that they saw. Things didn't work out. Let it be. Let the man no rest for But right now we're in the age of everything is right here, right in front of you, live. I can put my phone up here and I can go broadcast the world. And you have people where it's at their fingertips. That's hard. That's hard. You know what I'm saying? We're humble guys, but if you have some kind of a complex, I'm not saying this is Kwame, but just anybody, you have some kind of a complex where, you get off by these people hanging on your every word and this, and you have these platforms in the wrong hands with the wrong people, as we've seen from 45, the last president. Like, if you have in the wrong hands, it could be lethal. It could really be. You got to be careful with that. You got to be careful with that. And that's why I go back to my point. Like I was saying, we can't all this hero worship, all this guy is the savior. The only savior I know is my Lord Savior Jesus Christ. Okay, and he was perfect.
Amen.
And he died, rose again. There we go. Period. To end on that. None of these, every other human I've found out in my 37 years is flawed. In the nicest people to the worst people, everybody has some flaw. Everybody's sinning and falling short of the glory of God. So, in my opinion, we got to stop this hero worship. We have to stop. We have to educate ourselves on the facts and the truth on all of this stuff. And the other part, once you educate yourself, be prepared for what you're gonna pick up, because you're gonna see that this is very intertwined, and there's a lot of messed up stuff that happens. So.
Yep.
But.
Yep, I agree with that. Definitely, for sure. Yeah. So a couple more things. We're gonna wrap it up for this evening. So, if you are the Green Bay Packers, where do you go from here? Because we can officially say he's holding the franchise hostage.
Mm-hmm.
Because he came out and said it was never about Jordan Love. Alex Van Pelt, his quarterback coach, got fired. And there was some decisions that were made by front office that didn't satisfy him. If you are the Green Bay Packers, what are you doing with Aaron Rodgers?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I think the writing was on the wall a year ago when he did this whole thing a year ago. We talked about Alex Van Pelt, getting let go, and then we have Jordan Love getting signed. But when they got rid of Mike McCarthy and brought in this new coach, that showed the power that he had, because he had the issue with McCarthy. So he wanted a new guy. He got a new guy in there. Now he's pushing that to the limit. This is a case of if you give him this leadway, kind of like what Washington did, unfortunately, with RG3. Dan Snyder gave him as much leadway as he could, gave him as much rope as he wanted, and what happened? RG3 hung himself with it. Now, that RG3 had 1 year, just one magical year, and the injury definitely hurt. Aaron Rodgers has all of these years of at least getting 5 championship games, widely considered one of the best at quarterbacks, period. If I'm the Packers, obviously you want to do everything in your power to keep this man, but at the same time, you don't get this opportunity very much where you have the chance to sit here and say, what offer y'all got? This man has made his mind up. We're not getting rid of our general manager. What offers do y'all have? And yes, they're going to have to be through the roof. But other teams might be like, this is Aaron freaking Rodgers, man. You know what I mean? Like, just saying he gives you 1, 2, or even 3 more years. You see what I'm saying? I mean, he's only had that one. He had that collarbone injury that 1 year. He had that major injury. But outside of that, he's still Aaron Rodgers. So I think people are going to look. But as far as Green Bay, I think, if we've done everything in our power, they accommodated to him last year. They've been accommodating to him. Not as far as receivers. They've given him a great running game. They've helped him with his defense, but receivers has been one place they've really except for Devontae Adams.
You don't think Alan Lazard is a good wide receiver?
Not outside of Aaron Rodgers.
That's fair.
Yeah, not outside of Aaron Rodgers. The reason why I'm going to say that is because you have people like Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning that come up to the line of scrimmage, look to the left, look to the right. If those corners were 10 yards off, it's a wink, boop, go. That's a psyche. That's a certain thing that he does, that he practices with. He gets it. So under him, he's one of those guys that you play with him and you're instantly boosted like 5 points if you're in Madden. You know, you're instantly that much better because he makes you that much better because you want to play for him, you know. And you have a Devontae Adams who's a clear-cut number one. Him and Aaron are your buddies. They got their thing going. But these other guys, Valdez-Scantling, Lazard, Tunyon, you play your part, and Aaron's going to make you look good. So, heck yeah, I'm going to play my part. I don't think that if they were to, say, parlay this into a contract somewhere else, I don't think, that they're going to get that same success. I mean, maybe even if you go to Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes or things like that. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there's a certain way you play with him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like he's like I said about Peyton Manning, he's one of those quarterbacks that if he sees, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they got 12 guys on the field, the last guy's running off the field, hike, you know, quick fade, you know, we know it's a free play because it's a flag on the 12 men on the field. Quick fade, you know, let's see if we can get it to work. You know, he's that type of quarterback, and not everybody's like that. There's literally a handful. Like, literally, I would say, shoot, right now, I might want to say just him.
I say maybe 5.
Tom Brady. Right now, that can just look at the defense, quick, boom, audible. Not even audible. Like, nobody else on the offense knows what's happening but me and that receiver. That's something that's an Aaron Rodgers, an elite quarterback thing. I'll say that. But more so with Aaron Rodgers in that offense. That's more so what I'm leaning towards. That offense, it creates that ability to do those type of things. And that's because Aaron Rodgers has full control, you know? Good.
I guess my thing with Aaron Rodgers is that, you know what? Because him, you know, skipping OTAs and being in Hawaii wherever he was, my thing is plain and simple. What do you want? He came out. I know he said he wants the GM fired, but it's like, come on, guy, like for real, come on. I mean, his what he's doing is very Brett Favre like. The only difference with him was now, because here's a guy, you got Jordan Love, a guy like, and he's seeing this. He's going like, oh, wow. And at some point, if you're the Green Bay Packers, you have to, I said earlier in the video, you have to make the decision on either hey, look, either you're going to commit or we'll just trade you, which brings me to my next point. Washington football team was one of those teams that was interested. In my personal opinion, I think it's a good landing spot for A-Rod. But I wanted to ask you a couple things. How are you feeling about the Washington football team this year? Can you see a guy like Aaron Rodgers being on this team? And is this the last season we will see the Washington football team at FedEx?
Well, let me counter that real quick, and I'm going to ask you, because you have an established quarterback. You have Lamar. If there was some way where you can get an Aaron Rodgers, or if they did that, if Acosta and them guys did that, and you got an Aaron Rodgers next year, how would you feel about that?
I would feel
you have Lamar,
but still, we still have Lamar Jackson and Aaron Rodgers.
No. You'd obviously probably have to give up a Lamar or something like that.
Well, my only thing is my only thing with Aaron Rodgers, if hypothetically he was traded for Lamar Jackson, you're putting immense pressure on that's Eric DeCosta. One, that's his job on the hot seat because here it is. you traded a generational piece and Lamar Jackson for a guy that is on his way out the door. So now you're putting it's championship or bust if you're the Ravens.
Well, right, that's what I'm saying, and
that's
what Aaron is doing. Aaron, see, that's the reason why I asked that question, and I'm gonna answer your questions. But the reason why I asked that is because Aaron and the Ravens are both championship or bust. Aaron and the Ravens are both kind of at that place where we've been to the divisional, we've been the top seed, we've been up there, we know the talent we have, and you're not losing as much. You know, where you lack the running ability, you gain maybe after everything we talked about. I don't want to say the QB IQ, but I will say that just for the amount of years that Aaron Rodgers has played, opposed to Lamar Jackson, you're gaining a couple things. You're gaining experience. You're gaining, you know what I mean? So in that case, I mean, if you're looking for a 3-year window, it might not be a bad idea. But if you're looking long term, and that's how I answer the question. If you're looking long-term like us, right now, I mean, who wouldn't be happy to have Aaron Rodgers on the team? That's why I wanted to ask you. You know what I mean? He's Aaron flipping Rodgers. He's a bad man, like Stephen A. Smith said. You know, who wouldn't want him? Personally, and following Washington as many years as I had and being so in-depth with those guys on Washington Football Weekly, right now I say no. I say no, and the same reason I said no to Russell Wilson, the same reason I said no to Deshaun Watson. And it's because I feel like we're really piece by piece building something right now.
Yeah. I noticed that not last year, but the year before.
Right.
It's slowly coming together.
Right. And we have that new culture. We have that. And one of the things that I think wherever Aaron goes, he's going to have some kind of a full control. Some kind of a control like he has in Green Bay. And I don't think that's happening with Ron Rivera. Dan Snyder would give him that control, but Ron Rivera is not going to give him that control because this is Ron's team. Ron wants his guy. So for that, no, I do not want Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I'd love to have him. Like if we're on Madden, I'd love to have him. I'm sure he'll sell seats and I'd love to see him play and things like that. But at the same time, realistically, knowing the cap, knowing finances, knowing, you know, what it would take to get him, I honestly feel like right now with what we're saying, and this is a segue into next thing you asked, I feel like we are a divisional round playoff team right now that is potentially one quarterback away. I think we're similar to the Rams of last year. Okay? We're a quarterback away, a healthy quarterback away. We have a solid defense that we're building. We've got a triple threat at wide receiver in McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, and then this boy from North Carolina, De'Ami Brown, the burner. Yes, sir. You know, I'm honestly, and this is the first time in years I've been able to say this, I'm honestly very, very excited for the season. I honestly think we can make. I think the NFC Least is going to be an NFC beast this year. I think a bunch of those teams are going to come out the woodwork, and I think we're going to be up there with a very good season. And I think we can get the divisional round of the playoffs. I think we are moving as long as your boy Dan Snyder stays on the yacht. Bucky Brooks and Dan Snyder, man. That's your crew, man.
You got jokes. Nah. If they walk, I wouldn't know who they were if they walked in a bar right now.
Right. But no, Dan Snyder, as long as he stays on that yacht and let Ron Rivera control the ship, long as he lets Ron Rivera do his thing, bring in his guys. Ron is doing things that are quiet, playing the cards close to the vest, being very slow. You know, I've been saying he's moving slow like lasagna, just kind of, you know,
slowly but surely getting in there.
Getting it done, and that I think is going to be the best thing for us at this point, barring injuries, and hopefully potentially getting the North Carolina quarterback next year, Sam Howell. I love what he's got going on. I think we got something. I think we can go make moves in the future. I have high hopes. Now, stadium, mama's cooking. As far as the stadium, we have our lease until 2027. But as you know, Snyder and Jason Wright, we're definitely doing some stadium tours and looking around at other stadiums. So I mean, that was a discussion that we had on Washington Football Weekly, and I personally, I'm a fan. I'm a nostalgic. I'm a fan of RFK. I absolutely loved it. It was in the heart of the city. It was right behind the Capitol. It was gritty. It was rugged. Not FedEx is FedEx. It's pretty, whatever. But with Dan Snyder being who he is, being the type of guy that says, I want to have a pissing contest, and you got Jerry Jones in our very division. So yeah, I think he's going to try to, double up on like SoFi. Like, see how crazy the Raiders Stadium is? He's going to try to do something crazy like that. Because like Will, shout out to Will Kramer on my show, like he mentioned, I think Dan Snyder, what would be the number one thing that would bring attention to Dan Snyder? If we brought a Super Bowl, either a trophy or brought the Super Bowl the game.
He wouldn't know what to do with himself after that.
Yeah, exactly. He'd be on the forefront, and then it'd be over. We wouldn't be able to do nothing with the man. You know what I mean? So I don't think we're gonna. I think
he said something about. Right. He said something about he wants to play like 8 games in Washington and then 8 games in London. Did I read that right? Well, is that what he said?
Think about that. Think about that. Does that sound like something he would say?
Yeah. To me, yes. I'm like, I said that right. I'm like, did I read that right? And I said,
he wants that attention. He wants the attention, man. He wants the attention. First and foremost, got attention all year. Negative, but
yeah. I think personally, logically, it would not make sense. I mean, I think it's great to have to get your fan base bigger overseas, but to have think about the finances.
Hold up. First of all, we don't need to worry about going overseas. Let's try to fill our own stadium with Washington fans. When's the last time you've been to a Washington game? There's 50% other fans, and sometimes it's not even the opposing team. I'm telling you. So he don't need to be worried about no daggone London. But anything this man says, I'm not listening to you, bro. I got nothing to say to him because he, as far as I'm concerned, the fact that the NFL did not kick him out or get rid of him at this season with everything that's been going on really kind of scares me. Because in my mind, now, what kind of power does he have? What does he have on Roger Goodell? What is it that what kind of card is he holding where they were able to totally get rid of, all that crap that came out about him, and now he can hire a couple minority coaches, general managers, and now he can bring a female coach in. Now we have a dance team and no cheerleaders and this and that. Something ain't right. So yeah.
No, sorry. It's all again. When you have, it goes back to your point earlier. When you have the power and money, it's all about money. People will do anything to clean their image, and that's Daniel Snyder's. That's what it is at the end of the day. That's what it's at the end of the day. Sean, I'm not sure if you got a chance to look at any WNBA games, but I have, and actually, again, it's been off to kind of a slow start with the Mystics, but I think from last year to this year, I think you're starting to see more of more people energizing into watching it. I'm not sure if you got an opportunity to watch it. Like I said, we can all say what we say about the WNBA. It needs to be branding, all that. But after watching that 144 documentary, I'm not sure you got an opportunity to look at it. I think it's like on ESPN Plus.
Check it out. I gotta check it
out. I think we have to give them their props. I think we really do have to let them know, hey, listen, they could play the game of basketball just like Kevin Durant, LeBron.
Right.
They go their own way. I don't like the fact that there's certain things that are going on, like they cut the Chicago Sky to cut my girl, Lexi Brown. Because it doesn't make any sense. I think they got to really. She's a proven starter. I've seen her at Duke. She was Maryland and Duke. There's great talent that I've seen. There are a couple disappointing teams like the Indiana Fever, but they're in rebuilding mode. Um, I would like to see the league expand to a couple other cities. I would like to see that.
Yeah.
But your overall, I mentioned, like I said, I'm not sure we got a chance to watch any WNBA games this year. But where do you think we can see the WNBA improve more?
So I think as the years go, as the attention continues to come in, I think they will grow, and I think that has a lot to do with college basketball. I know you and I actually kind of talked, off camera about the college women's NCAA tournament. That was a solid tournament. I've watched more games of that than actually of the men's tournament this year, and I was all over the men's tournament. That women's tournament, it's skill, it's talent, but it's heart, it's passion. You see these young ladies playing with each other and the ability that they have, and it's not surprising, but I guess it's because it's not as publicized. We're not used to it. Maybe I know you check out the WNBA a lot more. I didn't really get deep into the WNBA actually not until last year. Not until last year in the fall when the whole situation with Warnock and Leffler and the whole Georgia primaries and all those things going. So when I saw how they were able to go back to platforms, when I saw how the WNBA team was able to use that platform and really push the vote and really make a positive difference, that it made me kind of turn your head, because that's kind of what we're talking about. You educated yourselves, you found out what was going on, and you took a stand. And that's a positive stand. I absolutely love that. It garnered results. So that opened my eyes. Next thing we have to do is go and look on the court. Now, it's always going to be difficult when you're comparing, because it's so natural for us to compare the NBA to WNBA and money and sponsorship. Unfortunately, it is. But the level of play is amazing. These women are playing them like they are dominating the game, and I absolutely love how well they play. Talking about the Mystics, shout out to them, because no, we're not the defending champs, are we? 2 years ago, was it 2019 and we won?
2019, yep.
Yeah. So I got to shout out my people, but again, it's early, like you alluded to. It's early. Dylan Doe was out. We have early season issues, things like that. But I feel like we can still go. I would love. I agree with you. I would definitely love for it to expand. But but realistically, we have to bring it back to the finances, back to the sponsorships, back to the people watching and supporting, because as long as people are not watching it or not supporting it or not going to the games and not, buying the merchandise, as long as there's that disparity between men and women in that sport, it's going to take a hit. It's unfortunate, but it's going to take a hit. Now, the college game, I think the college game is definitely on par, especially with all the guys, all the the one and dones and everything like that. I think the college women's game is right there with the men's college game. You know what I mean? So I hope it expands. To be honest with you, I do. It's going to take some time.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Oh, but sure. But look what it's done. Look what it's done from the past till now. Yeah, I'm saying, look what it's done from the past till now.
Yeah, for sure. So now, definitely, a big difference. I definitely want to do probably at some time the All-Star break. I want to revisit their draft because there is a couple. I looked at the draft class just in the first round, and there was a couple. I got my eye on a couple girls that came out where I think there was a reach. I don't think they should have been drafted there. Who I think really could have went different places. I need to see. I'm still. I know again it's early. We're 6 games into the season, but I'm going to I'm really paying attention to really those who was drafted, where I think they could have. Who I think I'm definitely going to do a video on that at some point. But how would you feel? Because we'll get into it, we're going to wrap it up. Where do you? I want to do a predictions video for this upcoming NFL season. How would you feel collaborating on that?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm with that.
Okay, for sure. Like I said, we're still in OTA, so we're probably about another month. OTA is usually about a month, so we're about a month away until spring training. So really, until then, yeah, we'll definitely keep we'll work on that video.
Are we playing you guys in the preseason this year?
I believe. Let's look. I believe so.
We are. We should definitely hit that game up and then do something live from Baltimore.
Oh, for sure. Let me look. Yeah, it's on the 28th. That's week 3.
Oh, the last game. Last game of preseason.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that might be actually an actual game. Might have to do like Skip and Shannon and bet you some cases of Mountain Dew.
I got some Saints, baby. We got the Saints, Panthers, and Washington. Who do you guys play besides us?
Let me check. I think we got. I think pretty sure we got Cleveland.
So is the goal? So after this season, it's just going to be 2 preseason games?
It might be leaning towards that. I hope not, because I think they're trying to get more regular season games and more meaningful games. But in my mind, preseason is the games that I love because I don't really try to go to expensive. Like I love when we were terrible because those chicks for $5 and I could sit and cheat, and I don't like to go to these expensive ass games and watch especially if we're gonna struggle. Now I'm not doing that. I've done it too many times. So those preseason games are always my favorite.
For sure. I would like to see that the NFL kind of do what the NBA does, a play-in, like that 17th game, that 18th game of the season. We see where everybody's at. AFC. We have the AFC teams. Okay. Well, let's see. Pittsburgh's 8-8. The Jets are 7-9. Have a play-in tournament, and that's how they should do it. Because my only concern with that extra game, I can't see guys. You want to see some guys not play that game, and I don't want it to be that game where you have like the practice squad out there and not the starters, because 17 games a season on an NFL player is a lot of wear and tear. And
16 was already taxing.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know how. We'll see how it looks. I mean, with already last year with COVID and injuries, and again, I don't think there was no spring training. So
we have. I don't know why. For some reason, we only have 2 preseason games. We have. We play Cincinnati at home, and then we play you guys at home. I don't know why we don't have a 3rd preseason game.
Hold on. That's weird.
You know what? You know why? Because this is vivid seats, but this is home games. No, because it's showing me tickets to the away game. Huh. How many preseason games does the Washington football team have in 2021?
Let's see. That's weird. You got the Patriots.
Oh, the Patriots. They must be the first one then. Yeah, they just
Bengals
said it.
And then us.
But is it in New England? Yeah, it's in New England. That's why.
You're playing all AFC. You're playing all NFC opponents.
We got all AFC opponents coming into this.
We play all NFC. That's kind of fun. That's kind of weird. Shouldn't you at least play one team from each division, and then one from and then a rival?
Well, I thought that's what when they had 4 games. I thought that's what they kind of leaned towards doing. But you know what? No, because we play you almost every preseason, and normally we play. Like I know we played the Bengals last preseason, but normally we play the Browns. Matter of fact, we tend to play your division a lot because we've played the Bengals. You guys are a crosstown rival. I guess. Yeah. But we play you guys, Cincinnati, like we played them last year. Cleveland, we normally play. So, and then now we're playing the Patriots. That's gonna be interesting. I wonder if we go see that rookie Mac Brown in that game against for the Patriots. Oh man, I don't want to see that.
Mac Jones, you'll probably see him there for like a couple, like maybe a quarter or two. Depends.
Well, for that, that's what I'm saying for that first game because they're not gonna. They run what? They probably run Cam out for the first quarter, if that, or first couple drives.
Yeah, Cam will probably be there for like a first. I want to say it's Brian Hoyer.
Is it? Yeah, I think you're right. I think they re-signed Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, it's Brian Hoyer.
Yeah. So you got Hoyer, who's going to get his playing time, but he's been in the league so daggone long, he don't need that much practice.
No.
I'm eager to see what they do with Mac and see how he plays up over the summer or in the preseason because I think that's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think it's going to be definitely fun, for sure.
And that's another thing we can do. You said you were touching on the video of the WNBA and their draft. Definitely, one of the things I want to do as the season gets going for the NFL, I definitely want to have a chance where we spotlight. All right, go back. Top 5 players right now. How are they looking in their season?
Oh, for sure, I mean? Definitely.
Top 15. How is this team?
After week 8.
Yeah, they have to have probably that first bye. Our bye week is week 9, so probably around that first bye week of when teams are starting to get buys. I think we should do it because they have like at least half a season of stats under their belt, right?
You know, the only thing is I'm not liking the fact that the way the bye weeks are spread out so thin. I hate that. Yeah. Like I think our bye week is week 8. I don't know if any NFL team has a bye week and like they usually have it in the middle. It never tend to do a bye week at the end for all the teams, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, because we have ours at week 9.
So yeah, definitely do that. I definitely want to do that video. So I mean, we're at right now because right now Connecticut we're 5 games in, end of the season so far. All-Star, we don't have an All-Star break this year for the WNBA.
So quickly going back on your bye weeks thing.
Yeah.
Atlanta, New Orleans, and New York. I don't know if that's the Giants or the Jets. But one of them there's week 6. Buffalo, Dallas, Minnesota, and Pittsburgh is week 7. You guys and the Raiders are week 8. Detroit, Seattle, Tampa Bay, and us is week 9. Matter of fact, let me go. There it is. Chicago, Cincinnati, New York, Houston. That's week 10. Denver and Rams, week 11. Chiefs and Cardinals, week 12. So Browns, Packers, Titans, and Panthers are week 13. And
that should be the game.
Yeah. Well, they're bye weeks. No, they're bye weeks.
Oh, they're bye weeks.
Yeah. And then week 14, the Colts, the Dolphins, the Patriots, and the Eagles have bye weeks. Yeah, there's bye weeks from week 6 all the way to week 14. This is weird.
Wait a minute. Wait. Who has a bye week in week 14? The Eagles, the Colts, and who else?
The Dolphins and the Patriots.
That's half the AFC. Wow. Okay.
Right. And see, that's wow. That's crazy. But then, see, on the flip side, though, you have the Falcons, the Saints, the Jets, and the 49ers who have a week 6 bye. So after that, it's 11 straight. And especially if you go, well, I see maybe one of those teams going to the playoffs in San Francisco. Or maybe Atlanta. I don't know. But
we'll see.
But and that's going to be a long run after that. I mean, I like ours where it's halfway through. We got preseason, got our first 8 games in there. Good. Take the breather. Because once we come out of the break, I think we go into the break and we play the Chiefs, and then we come out and play like Tampa. Yeah, we have a tough stretch. We have a stretch where we have to play the Packers, the Broncos, Tampa, KC, the Saints. Who's that other team? The Chiefs, but there's 2 other teams.
Okay. Well, I know after our bye week, we got Minnesota, Miami, Chicago, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and then Green Bay. That's where we like right after Pittsburgh, we gotta see Cleveland right after that. I don't
Don't
like
you
how
see
they
them?
did. Where
Don't
we
you
see
see Cleveland back to back?
where we see Cleveland the first, I think it's on the 28th. Then
I think
we play
you see them
Pittsburgh in
back to back.
December. Yeah, we do,
You play
but
Cleveland back to back.
yeah, right after because we played Pittsburgh right in the middle of that game, and they kind of go right back and face Cleveland. Like that's stupid.
I thought they made it Cleveland. Like you actually played them 2 times in a row.
No, so it's we played in week 12, and it's week 14 that we play them again because we play them Sunday. We play the first time we see Cleveland is Sunday night, and then we see them a second time Sunday afternoon. That's just so weird how they had that.
That is crazy.
It's just like, hey, didn't we just not see you guys like 2 weeks ago?
That is crazy to get that. And then you got Green Bay.
Yeah, we have Green Bay, Cincy. We Los Angeles is here, and then Pittsburgh. So I think that Rams game is going to be good. That Pittsburgh game, I think that's going to be interesting. Yeah, I said it in the video. I think I see Washington winning 10 games, in my personal opinion. I see Baltimore winning 11 tops. I can't, I think the key game. I think games of the week. The Chiefs, obviously, Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar. That we're gonna lose one of those games to Cleveland. Aaron Rodgers. Well, I don't know if Aaron Rodgers will be a Green Bay Packer. And then the Rams. And I'm not going to say Chicago. Chicago too can make some noise in that division too. So.
6, 7, 8.
So, I mean, I'm not looking at
the Rams. I can see you guys. You said 11. I can see you guys pulling 10. The only team I'm suspicious about Minnesota.
Yes,
because they'll have some healthy pieces. The Chargers, because I'm worried about them for our first game. The Chargers and the Rams. Most of the other games I think will fall in line with how it's been playing. That Thursday night game against Miami I think will be fun. But the Chargers, the Bengals I think will split, and the Rams and the Raiders. I just can't gauge the Raiders because I think they're going to be terrible, but then sometimes I think they're going to be decent. So,
well, I'm not. I like Oakland, but I think Mark Davis. I think is trying to be a Jerry Jones. Personally, I don't. I think the Raiders. I don't think they really did. I think they did okay in the draft, but I think it's really going to be. I think we're going to look at Derek Carr a little bit more closely. I like Alex Leatherwood, but again, it's something about you can get an offensive lineman in day 2, day 3. Right. I just don't see the I don't know. I see the Raiders. I say 8-8 best.
Yeah, or what 9-8 now because it's 17.
Well, 9-8 because it's 17 for sure.
Yeah, I don't see. They're gonna get some fluky wins like they do every year, where they'll blow some team out and then they'll get garbage losses where they'll get crunched. But the Rams, because the Rams got that, they're the products of that big trade and all that stuff they got going on with the quarterback and whatnot. And then Cincinnati, I think, is going to be much improved. I think if Burrow stays healthy, I think Cincinnati will be. I think they're going to be much improved. I'm eager to see.
He said he's 85% with his knee, so he says 85%. So we'll see. I still think they really should have got Penei Sewell. I like Jamar Chase, but
I thought so too. I definitely did, but I got my boy that's from Cincinnati. And he follows all that stuff. And he was saying that they like you had mentioned, they did get some O-line in there and things of that nature. But I think right now I think what we're doing is, or at least what they're doing is they're focused on, all right, let's make him comfortable. Let's make Joe Burrow comfortable. Let's bring him one of his buddies. Let's make. I mean, and but I agree with you. Our mock drafts were the same when it came to that pick. I never wavered from Penei Sewell going 5th to the Bengals. I never wavered. Other things might have been different, but that was something that I thought was for sure. I can understand why he's not with the Bengals because of the Jamar Chase. And that's the only reason why I'm okay with it, because I'm like, they have a connection. They made sweet music before, so
they have a connection. Yep, for sure.
But
all right,
the Chargers,
so
the
Chargers for sure. I just don't. When you shout out to Delilah Crispo and Nicholas Rosario, when I did on Let's Talk Football. We talked about the whole Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff thing. I was trying to figure out, well, who died in the NFC West, because they made it seem like Matthew Stafford elevated the Rams to Super Bowl contention, and Matthew Stafford went to Detroit, and again, Matt, even though he had Calvin Johnson, Pettigrew, Lions weren't a good team, so we don't know really what Matthew Stafford will look like on this team. They have the defense, but they'll come to the championship window. They have 3 years, in my personal opinion, to get a chip. Because they sacrificed.
I think less than that. I think they got. Well, I mean, I can agree with you on 3 years, but I think they got 2. I think they got 2 years to really figure it out. And listen, Matthew Stafford, his body took a beating. That's the one thing we cannot forget about. His body took a beating in Detroit. But it goes back to the conversation you and I had about, you were saying what I think about Tim Couch. And I said he was a bust. You said, well, who did he have with him? We can say that about Matthew Stafford. He had Megatron, but he didn't have him for that long. He had, that's all. Pettigrew. Kevin Jones, maybe.
Kevin Jones, he had, up until last year, Galladay, Marvin Jones.
Right. So we know, they didn't throw the ball to themselves. We know he's got ability. He torched us fourth quarter many a time where he came back, but that's not saying much with us over the last 5 years.
Well, he had the tight end, TJ, what's his name? Hockenson.
Hockenson. Yeah.
But I think the best game for me when I saw them play the Falcons, that was a good cutback by Matthew Stafford to the line. That was a good game.
So he has that. He has that heart. Shout out to him coming out of Georgia. Sean Moreno was on that team. AJ Green.
Yep.
Yeah, AJ Green was on that team. Now my buddy, the diehard Falcons fan from Atlanta, and he was just like, "This is our year. This is our chance. We have a 2-year window." And unfortunately, they didn't get it done in that SEC. But Stafford, honestly, when looking at it from the context, and when we first did that episode, it was literally a week or so after the game against Seattle. You know what I mean? And then the game against the Packers. And at that point, with that defense, even though Aaron Donald was a little hurt, they looked like they were maybe a decent running back. But Malcolm Brown was playing his butt off, but they looked like they were maybe a quarterback away. They had Goff, who was hurt, and then that other guy came in, Wofford, and he got knocked out of the game, and they had to bring in Goff in. I think if they had a Matthew Stafford, they at least go to the championship. I don't think they go all the way, but with the moves they've been making, I think they're going to go. The problem with that video that we did in our comments on that is that there's a lot of stuff that's happened since then. And between the Cardinals and Seattle and San Francisco, all of them upgraded. So I don't think it's going to be as easy. But I also don't think that I think that window with Matthew Stafford, Detroit's going to catch up to him. He might have escaped Detroit. It makes me think of the song Hotel California, where they said, you can leave whenever, you can go whenever you want to, but you can never leave.
Yep, that's one of my favorite songs. Shout out to the Eagles.
Detroit,
one of my favorite songs.
Detroit is on his back. I don't think you could, like, when you play for a bad team, it's hard to shake all of those things that you had to do for that bad team and how you played and some of the tendencies and things.
But they show they can win football games. I mean, Jim Caldwell, and this was why I was really confused. Everyone was like, Jim Caldwell had less to work with. Jim Caldwell, unfortunately, what was in his way was Aaron Rodgers. I mean, they won 9 games. I mean, the Lions have shown that they can make the playoffs. The biggest thing is not just with the Lions, it's with any team. You got to get the right football people in there and let them do football. Look at the Buffalo Bills, for example. Look at what they're doing. Baltimore. You get the football. You get people in there that know football. This analytical stuff, it don't work. Because look at
it has its place. Yeah, it has its place, but it doesn't. For football, you're right. You have to know what you're dealing with, and you have to have those right people. Because case in point, Chicago, Trubisky. Look, Trubisky is not the greatest. He's not the worst. He could work in certain systems. I would love to have him in Washington. I think he'd be a great kind of his mobility and his arm. I think we can work with him, but it didn't work in Chicago. But it's like you said, the football people. You have to have football minds in the right place. When we had Jay Gruden, we had an offensive mind that and he was arena league offensive mind. We have Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera played the game. Ron Rivera coached the game. Ron Rivera's been around the game. You know what I'm saying, for 30 some odd years. You know what I mean? He knows it. Our defensive coordinator, Jack Del Rio, he knows it. Martin Mayhew, our GM, he knows it. These guys know the game. They know players. They know what they're looking for. So I honestly think that is a big factor in it. But and the fact that I'm almost married to a one of the few Detroit Lions fans that's actually vocal. They have a lot more other issues they're dealing with. It's really.
Where do you see Jared Goff with this team? I like Jared Goff. I just think I think Sean McVay and Jared Goff just couldn't. I think after the Super Bowl, I think there was a disconnect. I think there was just. I don't think Jared Goff liked him. I don't think Sean McVay liked him. But where do you see Jared Goff in the Lions?
Honestly, I kind of see him just filling in for the Matt Stafford role. I don't see him doing much else with that team. I like him. Again, you just mentioned 3 years ago, they were in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? But that super high-powered team that had come into that game only scored 7 points?
7 points
against the Patriots. You know what I mean? So that's one of those situations where it's like, your defense has never been something that we're questioning. The only thing that we're questioning with your defense is the age, and they're getting older. But that offense, Jared Goff can play. He's young. Yep. He can play. But Detroit's got a lot of other issues, and Caldwell's not the problem. Them having Matt Patricia all those years and wearing that damn pencil in his ear, that was an issue. You know what I mean? Like that, these little dang on Belichick rejects. That was, those are the issues in Detroit. Detroit just has a horrible time managing talent, they can draft guys. They have a horrible time managing talent. And I feel for him because, Barry's my favorite. Barry's my second favorite player of all time. In my mind, top 3 running back of all time, and I'm being nice right now because I want to say he's the best. But he was another one. Calvin Johnson was another. They get these guys. They're amazing. But
I agree. Something happened. And I did a video on it because Joy Taylor came out and said something like, talking about the Lions, and a couple of people were like, "Bro, what are you talking about? Like, why are you going at Joy Taylor for that?" And I'm like, because if you understand the game, when you build a team, you have to understand, like you said, you can draft all the players you want, but it's how you manage that team.
Right.
Plain and simple. Right. Jim Caldwell, great coach, but he didn't make he made the Lions relevant, but didn't make them better. Matt Patricia didn't do that neither. I didn't think he was the right fit for the Lions, but I think it's going to take somebody in Detroit to say, the Fords, you got to step back and say, okay, you know what? Sell us on your plan. We're in. We're going to stay out of it. We trust you with it. I'm telling you, look at teams like Buffalo, not in Baltimore. others that are building cultures of winning football. San Francisco,
Right.
Miami. Do not sleep on the Dolphins. The Jets. Now,
Now,
we
what
got
I will say about those teams, San Francisco, the Jets, the Chargers are coming up, the Cleveland, the Rams. They had several years of those top 5 picks. You know, we look at San Francisco going to the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and you look at that D line with Bosa, with Solomon, with, you know what I mean? You had these guys that were top.
Well, there was
5.
one guy they had that didn't pan out. I can't think. It was a defensive end. Disappointing. He was third. Was he picked number 3 overall? San Francisco.
Right. Was it Solomon? No, not Solomon. Was it Solomon?
Solomon Thomas.
No. Yeah. But they drafted high. You even look at Washington. You know what I mean? One player, Chase Young, everybody's like, oh my God, he's the difference, but he's not the difference. We drafted Deron Payne out of Alabama. We drafted Montez Sweat out of Missouri. Chase Young we got. We already had Matt Ioannidis, who's a sleeping giant, who didn't play. He actually didn't play this year. So we've got great talent, but it's because we sucked for a number of years. You know what I mean? And we drafted up. You know, so a lot of those teams that are doing bad are getting those. But again, it's like goes back to what you say. I can't even argue with it. You have to have the right football mind, because Detroit has also been one of those teams that's been poor. But if you're not going to pick the right people, it's a moot point.
Yep, it's a very moot point. And like I said, I'm excited for this NFL season. I think there's going to be some teams that are going to not shock, but they're going to surprise us. You know, like I said, I haven't watched the football team. I have them winning 10 games. I do. I think the NFC East is going to be a lot better than it was last year. The AFC East, I ain't going to sleep on the AFC East. Like I said, when we do this prediction video, we're definitely going to be some good conversation, because this draft.
The East is going to fly. Yeah, the East on both sides, I think, is going to shock the world. I think the East on both sides is going to be really nice this year.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk football, the round table. That doesn't start until week 1 or the preseason, correct?
Well, we're trying to figure that one out. I'm actually trying to put together something else where it's more of a fans outlook on the team, because I kind of want to have it where I can call and I have 32 analysts that have their team, their specific team, and I bring them in the video, kind of similar to what you're doing here, and I'm like, all right, here with our news, our daily, our weekly news on what's going on with the Baltimore Ravens, Nathan Snell, boom, boom, boom. I got my guy from Cincinnati. Hey, bring my guy in, Mike. All right, great from Cincinnati. What's going on in the streets in Cincinnati? How are they feeling? Joe Burrow, da-da-da. So I'm trying to open up more avenues and get more stuff out there.
I think that'd be a good approach for the round table. I think you're getting different.
Oh, no, that's separate. That's separate from the round table.
Separate from the table. I think that'd be good, because I think you get you definitely open a door where you have a panel discussion. Each team, like you said, discuss each person from all 32 teams talk about their teams and what could be better, what can be, what cannot be, what is not improved, what can be improved on. So I definitely could see that. That's definitely a great idea.
Yeah.
For sure.
Now with that one's more. Now there will be situations where it will be a round table type situation where there will be more people on there. But for that one, I'm gonna try to do something similar, and I'm inspired by what you're doing. I'm trying to do something similar where I'm hosting it, and then it's like the NFL Network, and it's like, all right, I'm gonna bring in my guy Mike Giraldo, blah blah blah, and he's gonna boom boom, and we're talking boom boom. All right, man, I'll see you next time. Bye. Take him off. Bring this person in. Doom, and we'll talk about it, and we'll go from there. Because my big thing. And it's like what I've done with Washington Football Weekly and the Roundtable is representation matters. I want You can comment all day, but I want people to be represented. And I want them to be represented on a show where they have the opportunity to say your piece, boom, boom, boom. All right, deuces. You know what I mean? Just to keep that flow and get, because you can have, like, not everybody's going to have a show like we have. So as long as you can get that sound bite, as long as you can get that thing out there, then we got something to work with. Yep. You know what I mean? If I don't get any other video of you and then I get a video, matter of fact, where did I put it? I wrote it down. I get a video of you saying that, there's going to be 11 wins and it's, you said like the game was going to be 27-20. I wrote it down. I wrote down a score so that when it comes out, if it comes out, you said the Wizards are going to win like 110-89.
Yes, it did.
So if that happens, that, it's on wax, it's there, boom. You know what I mean? Then we can go to the video and I can pull up the clip and be like, oh, well, look, my man said this. You say your piece, and then it goes from there.
I like that.
Because that's what people. Because I, in my opinion, that's what like. We're not vain, but we kind of are vain. We kind of like to see ourselves. You gotta like to see yourself if you do this stuff, enough.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
but getting that out there and getting people to, because everybody wants to feel like their words and their stuff is being put out there. So having our show and having shows like the things we do and giving people that platform, going back to platform, giving them that platform.
Right, that's like I said, like I'm trying to get more people from the group, I'm trying to get, myself out there more, as best I can. So,
Yeah. Especially Cam and Crump. I'm gonna call you out all day.
Well, he actually wanted me to let's go. I'm glad I want to jump into this. So this is our final quick takes. I'm kind of taking a quick. I'm trying to copy like first take. He wanted me to do a video on LeBron, with his recent, what happened with COVID. Do I think that LeBron should be suspended? Well, I think that you need to hold LeBron accountable. I don't care. Let me say that. It doesn't matter the situation with Kyrie Irving when he had his birthday party for his dad and his sister and himself. The difference is you got to understand we're in the midst of a pandemic. Regardless of cases going down, people getting vaccinated, we can all still get COVID. LeBron, the Indiana Pacers had one of the best players in Kalis LeVert, who's related to the great Gerald LeVert, if you didn't know that. Had to sit out because of the violation of safety protocols. And unfortunately, the Indiana Pacers lost the Washington Wizards. So they'll, think about his play, how that could impact it. So you can't have a double standard. I think definitely LeBron should be, in my opinion, fined. I think he should be suspended, but that ain't going to happen because, like Charles Barkley said, the NBA ain't got the balls to do it because you know why?
Yeah, money. And he's the face. He's the face. Happy or sad, good or bad, he's the face of the league. And people come there to see him. That was a lot of people's big issue a year ago when they had that boycott for game, is that they weren't able to see for that day. And I think it goes back to how much power we give these guys and how much hero worship. Because it's the Aaron Rodgers thing too. Aaron Rodgers should not be allowed to do this right now. We should not be having this discussion about this man. You were literally a drive away where you could have told your coach, F you, I'm running this play on fourth down, and I'm going to score a touchdown. But you didn't do it. So if you're bitter in your own mind, now you're going to make everybody else suffer for that? No, not at all. And I don't like these high dollar, top tier guys. Shout out to their ability, but just because, like the layman, just because you got all this stuff, that you're still a person. That don't mean you're bigger and better than me. So how are you going to get, it's a special treatment. And go back to the domestic abuse thing. You have certain guys, the Kareem Hunts, the Tyreek Hills, that went, Joe Mixon, that did certain things, but because of their talent, okay, let's overlook it.
But a guy like Chad, with a guy like Chad Wheeler, who's essentially a bench player, Right. But see, here's the thing too, and with that, same thing with Ray Rice. It was called. It was pictures.
Video. Yep.
Video. with Ray Rice,
Yep.
Chad Wheeler. The pictures,
Optics.
the optics matter. I
Yeah.
mean, Tyreek Hill, who I think it was his wife, his wife's friend who leaked it to the news station in Kansas City. Optics.
Mm-hmm.
Kareem Hunt, optics. So I definitely agree with that. I definitely get what you're saying on that. Do you have any? Do you have a final take? Quick take.
Honestly, my quick take is that we just gotta keep doing what we're doing, man. Regardless, and you probably don't know this. I go back and watch most of your stuff, most of the stuff we all do, and I go and I read the comments and I kind of see where people's minds are at and things of that nature. But in my mind, we gotta do our due diligence, stay vigilant on doing these type of things. I mean, when we talked about a year ago, George Floyd, our rest in peace, unfortunately his life was taken from him. And it makes it just, what it should do is just make us realize that this is a sad reality in a country that used to look at the two of us as property and less than ox and cattle and things like that. And, that's just what it is. We were slaves at one point. So for this to happen in this time, day and age, not, people want to take it away from being racial, this or that. White, killing black. We need to understand that this is just where we're at. This is what we need to educate ourselves and rise above that. Do you want to march? March. Do you want to protest? Protest. I'm not going for any. I don't condone rioting or any of that nonsense. But I understand the frustration of it. Hell yeah, I understand the frustration, and damn it, I'm mad too. Yep. But that's not the way to do it. Because what they're doing and everything, and I don't want to make it a them versus us, but what's happening is constant provoking to the point that we are then made to look in the image that they've always had. They're animals. These are monkeys. Look at them. See, don't give them that. We don't give them that. When they see guys like you and I, when they see us, educated, intelligent, Black African American men, articulating, paying it forward, doing our research, doing our due diligence. That's scary. That's scarier than any man with an AK-47, any man with a bomb, any of that, because that mind, that's what they want. That's what they're trying to take away from you.
Yep.
So what we need to do, honestly, and I got to shout you out, we got to keep going. Just keep fighting that fight, because everybody. It says in the Bible that you have, it's the fruit. What fruits are you bearing?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? What fruits are we bearing? We might not all have that militant, I'm going to go out there and protest. We might not all have that. We might not all have that legal mind or that political mind or things like that. We get in where we fit in.
Yep.
This is where we fit in, that we take this and we take it as far as we can go, because that's the difference that we can make. And our job is to do what we're asking everybody else to do, educate. If you, I'm going to teach you something. I'm going to teach you, I'm going to teach whoever else around me, because we're trying to go to the same thing. We're trying to uplift and bring people together. So if we just got to keep doing our job.
Yeah.
Pay or no pay, we got to do our job.
Definitely agree with that. Again, and it's funny. I have to credit a couple of WNBA players, and it stuck with me ever since then. Odyssey Sims, who's now with the Atlanta Dream, she actually said it when she got drafted by the Dallas Wings, and Lexi Brown. They both were like, with basketball, it's great, but education gets you further in life than dribbling a basketball. And again, educating yourselves on who your politicians are, the issues, and just educating educate yourself about society in general and how we can make this a better place, because we can make it a better place. We can, when we all come together, when we stop all this hate, crime, and again, humanity has shown that, what, we can prevail. We can
Right.
make that change. You know,
Right.
it's us. It starts with us individually as people.
Right.
And when we do that, look at the results that happen. I'm not sure if you
Right.
heard about it real quick, but did you notice that there was at George Floyd Square that there was a shooting? That was weird.
So did you see? I was watching. There was a documentary or something they had on, like I don't know if it's PBS or Channel 7 or something like that, where it was just like a year later, and they had the camera going, and they were like, "Do you hear that?" And they did. I heard they were saying, "Oh, there's still shots fired. There's still things going on around here." I don't know. I didn't know if there was an actual shooting.
This happened. This happened. Well, because it's now 1:50. It happened yesterday. Because everyone, and because you see people. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
Yeah.
Hold on. I want to see because that was crazy. I'm like,
wow.
I know this one person got shot, and hold on. Here it is. Let me share my screen so you can see it. I'm not sure if you saw this, and then we're gonna wrong one. All right, let me know. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is what I was watching. Oh wait, is it that dude right there?
I don't think so.
Oh, because
That's
when I was
crazy.
watching it, it was on the like they were doing a news report because you saw the cameras and whatnot. They were doing a news report from that spot, and that's what they said towards the end of it. There was like, as you can see, like there's still it ain't changed. There's still stuff going on. There's still because I was watching a bunch of things on that today. One last thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is key right here. Conversation.
Yes.
And I gotta say, and I've been called by my fiance, somebody that likes to argue, that likes this. Honestly, we need the conversation, and we need it badly because a lot of what's happening is assumptions on both sides. And as my dad always taught me, when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. So we have to have these conversations, and we have to have them with people that aren't on our side with it, that do not agree with us. And obviously, you got to get certain people that can handle the conversation because not everybody can handle it. But we have to start getting to that thing where we're going across the aisle essentially and saying, "Hey, listen, let's put it out there." Because we have issues, and honestly, we have to be okay with the fact that we could come out of that meeting in the same way we came into that meeting.
Yep.
But as long as we know what we're doing, right?
Where there's common ground,
right? And again, even with that, though, you might not reach common ground. I got to shout out my boy Chris Bass, because he's very, very far right. Okay, and he's one of us, but he's very far right. And I'll have the conversation. When we first started talking, going back and forth, he tried to teach me the things that he's learned and the things of that nature. And I might not agree with everything, but I respect you because you're coming at and you're trying to educate me. You're not sitting here behind the scenes and being like, "Oh yeah, I'm your buddy, like one of his other boys." He's like, "Yeah, I'm your buddy," and then we'll say a bunch of off the wall stuff and show me all these random, things, and you know what I mean. So if we're coming one on one, person to person, or we're able to have a round table, we're able to sit and talk, and it might get a little excited, but it's needed. Because if we don't, that gap is going to keep widening. And we don't need that.
There is a YouTube channel. A friend of mine a few years ago. It was really good. I can't think of the name of it. Where they were having conversations, race, religion, different things like that, kind of widening, trying to find common ground. And
Right.
like I said, I think that's like you said, the first thing is conversation. Again, it may be tough. Though some things someone may say you may not like, but at some point, you do kind of have to, you got to meet, but it has to be. And I'm going to quote Elijah Cummings, may he rest in peace. This is after the Freddie Gray riots. He said, we can't come at them, they can't come at us. We have to meet at a neutral point. When we
Mm-hmm.
meet at a neutral point, that's when the ball gets rolling. But we just come at one another.
Not gonna
It's
work.
egg on everybody's face.
Right.
And the biggest thing again with George Floyd, um, and not just with George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, um,
Dante Wright.
Dante Wright, um,
Uh,
Jameer Rice, and
right.
others. You know, it's
What's the name? The
Makia
girl,
Bryant.
Zakia Bryant. Right.
Um, you
Say
know,
their name. Ain't no A. Oh, A. Say their name since they ain't here to say it for themselves. I'm sick and tired of. Look, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I need to shut up so I can go.
but my last word is that we can make the world a better place. I'm all about my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. As the book says, um, there are going to be good days and there are going to be bad days. But the biggest thing is putting I just think something about it's just the power of prayer. I think it's just, but also too, we're put on this earth to do some good. And the devil does everything in its power to, you know, keep divides, hate,
Mm-hmm.
sorrow, all that around. But I think when we realize and when we get to that point where what we need to get back to that place where we need to look to God,
Mm-hmm.
our Lord and Savior, for answers. I think that's the key. Again, and with change, you don't see it overnight. You don't. So again, let's make the world a better place. Let's love one another. Tomorrow's not promised.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, while we're on this earth, let's do good. You know,
Mm-hmm.
let's help out one another. Let's do those things. When we do those things, we're setting the tone. We're giving the keys to the next generation.
Right.
Is
Right.
you don't want to give the next generation a mess. You don't want to give them something like a broken down house.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people got to think of.
Yeah.
So
Hey
I
yo.
think
Hey. Shout out, yo, real quick. I was watching something today. Shout out to the 1965, the black players in the AFL All Star Game. It didn't happen. It happened in '65 and everything. And going to your point about, this doesn't happen overnight. The AFL All Star Game. It was supposed to be in New Orleans. New Orleans was trying to get a team, an NFL team, to that area. But when these guys went there, some of the black players went out. They went to one of the clubs. Obviously, they got turned away because they were black. It was in the deep South in 1965. So then some of the other players came out, this and that, and essentially the black players were like, "Yo, we're not playing this game. It's in New Orleans. They're not with us. They don't like us." So check that out. 1985 AFL All Star Game. Ended up
1985.
moving 1865. 1965.
Oh, I see it.
Hey,
Okay.
yeah, and they ended up moving it to Houston. The game ended up going off, and they trying to push it under the rug. Some of those guys, Cookie Gilchrist was in that game. Some of those guys then were traded, cut, released, whatever, from their team. Their livelihood, all that stuff taken away because of that stance. But what that did was that said, all right, New Orleans, if y'all want a team, half these guys are going to be brothers. So y'all need to, get it together. They tried to desegregate that area. Tampa was the same way. Most of the South is the same way. Especially this is 1965 we're talking about. But shout out to them because the little things they do. Shout out to Tommy, what's his name? Jones, the guy that with the black fist in the Olympics.
Oh yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah,
I know
those
exactly what you're talking
those
about. I can't
three
think of
guys.
his name though. Yeah,
Yeah,
that Bill
shout
Bill
out to
Russell, Muhammad Ali,
yeah,
Kareem.
because they took the stance that needed to be taken, and they didn't back down from it. And we got to bring in Colin Kaepernick to that because listen, that's a lottery ticket. Going to the NFL is a lottery ticket. We all know that. You get one contract, one decent contract, and you could be set if you manage your money right. You invest and you do what you need to do. Colin Kaepernick gave that all away for a message,
And
and
unfortunately,
it
that
takes.
message be and again with and again, I said this too, and it's sad that you know everything has become politics has meshed in with pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm.
If now when people look at what he was trying to get his point across was look,
Yeah.
all we're saying is we're holding this country to the standards of what it's supposed to be, justice for all. And
Yeah.
here it is, we're in 2021. Since I told since the day this country was founded,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
But justice for all. Who's all? That's the question.
same thing with the Declaration of Independence. All men are created equal. Doesn't
But
say
who's
women.
considered a man? Right.
Doesn't say
That's
women.
the
Nothing.
thing. Read, like what I told, like what we discussed in after the Chauvin case. What do we say?
Read
Read
between the
between the lines.
lines.
Read between the lines, because there's a lot of stuff out there that if you look at it in the way that it was meant to be looked at, there was no intention for us to be included in that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? There was no intention for us to be included in that. So,
I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree
yeah.
with that. Well, I thank you, Sean, for joining me this evening. I
Yes,
know,
sir.
ladies and gentlemen, we talked your head off for 2 hours and 37 minutes, but you know what? I think it was a great conversation. I appreciate you joining me on the sports talk, and also to getting a little honestly, getting down to a conversation like you said we need to start having.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly as African American men. Again, let's make let's just let's continue to just create that conversation, help be a part of that change, and just let's make the world a better place. But again, we have to take it one day at a time,
Mm-hmm.
and again, like I said, the power of prayer, and I just think getting back to that place is key, is essential. But I want to wish the Washington Wizards all the best tomorrow night. Like I said, my
Mm-hmm.
prediction for the Wizards is going to be 110-89. Y'all heard
Mm-hmm.
the keys of what it's going to take for the Wizards to win that game. Um, the Mystics, they play the Connecticut Sun. I do Connecticut Sun right now is 5-0. So I do expect a game on that. I do expect the offense to be better with the Mystics. Again, so the Orioles, I'm really hoping they get together. They play the Minnesota Twins tomorrow afternoon, and yeah, and again the Capitals, unfortunately, were eliminated in 5 to the Bruins. The Nationals. Let me check out the Nationals real quick. Like I said, I haven't got an opportunity to check out the Nationals at all this season.
The Montreal Expos. That's what they are. They're not the Nationals. They're the Expos.
The Washington Senators.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right now they're 20-24, the last place in the NL East. And the NL East is actually still open. Only 3 games from out of first place. The Mets. As of right now, they're 22. They're 22-20.
Wow.
Yeah, the only really the division that stands out the most is the NL West. The Padres, Dodgers, and the Giants.
Yep.
And then the American League, it's just everybody else.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
It's Tampa Bay, New York, Boston. Well, Tampa, Boston, New York, Chicago, Cleveland, Kansas City. The AL West is actually kind of strong. Like the Angels are 6 games out of first place.
Mm.
Um, you already kind of see who your teams are going to be, like the Orioles, the Twins, the Tigers,
Mm-hmm.
um, the Pirates, the Diamondbacks, Rockies. Are all going to be teams that are going to be lottery picks.
Oh
So
yeah.
unfortunately,
Oh yeah. Hey Nate, I'm gonna go ahead and cut out and let you do the closing. I'm getting shouted at.
Well, like I said, I'm going to close out anyway here. So, thank you guys for tuning in. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe. I'll also leave a link to Sean Spencer's YouTube channel. Don't forget to check him out. Great content, great guy, knows his sports, and also good love. Love talking to this brother guy. If it wasn't for him, give me the confidence to make these videos, make me more confident, make my YouTube channel.
Yep.
I don't really know where this channel would be, so I definitely give him credit for that. So, with that being said, I'm out. Peace. Stay up, y'all. Thank you.
Yes, sir.